Peace, peace. What's going on, family? It's your brother Naheem, BKA Lord Abbott, aka Mr. Just the Facts. Tonight, you know what it is. We are discussing the election and basically where do things go from here. First, family, hit the like button, share this video out. Let the family know that we are having this discussion too now. We're having this discussion as well. And the fact that we are having this discussion, this political discussion, lets America know that there are those of us who came from a certain part of America, what Dr. King called that other America, who are uncompromising in their fight for our people's freedom, particularly reparations. So shout out to the mods that's in. I see you, Sister Riri. I'm waiting for a couple of the bros to come on. I think they're coming on tonight with me. um, I see some people in the building. Shalom, Islam, peace, Ashe, all that good stuff. Somebody said, "Who you got, Lord Abba?" I don't listen, man. Let me. I'm gonna be honest with y'all. I'm gonna be 100% honest with y'all, right? When you look at, and this is what we want to discuss tonight, because when you have a Democratic president who's a moderate centrist, whose politics is what they call in the middle. But if you really understand the breakdown of a moderate centrist is one who leans red. He leans Republican. This is why they brag about being able to work across the aisle, et cetera, et cetera. So when you have that type of candidate, particularly a Joe Biden, it makes things a little difficult for you as an American descendant of slavery to say, well, this is a man that's going to get things done for us. He has a history of not doing those things. Progressivism has taken a hit. And brother Josh shared an article earlier. I believe that he's going to come on in a few days. He goes, and we're going to get into that article as well. And I mean, I don't have anybody because I didn't vote at the top of the ticket. They didn't give me this is a binary process. Bicameral, I believe I'm saying that word correctly. A two-race horse, basically. And the Republicans, I can't say they don't share any of my views because they do have views on the right wing that I share. I'm about family. I'm against abortion. I'm just putting it out there. I'm against abortion. You can't build family if we killing our babies, point blank, period. So there are some things from the right that I do agree with. But there are things on the left that are supposed to be progressive insofar as building us who are at the bottom in American society up. And so we vote election after election with the hopes that one day these promises are going to come to fruition. And they never they never do. So I don't have nobody. I don't have anybody. But another 4 years of Trump, when you think about things like police reform, and I don't know if Biden is going to deliver these things. I don't know if Kamala remains a VP. All right, who's to say Biden doesn't retire next year? and basically hand the presidency over to Kamala, who would become Barack Obama 2.0. We just delivered the White House to Biden, basically. I mean, I I got the strangest feeling that the Georgia votes is going to be counted and they're going to call Georgia for Biden before they call any other place. And I could be wrong, but the lead has dwindled down to under, let's see, 15, is it 1,500 votes? Yeah, about that. About 1,800 votes or something like that. I'm looking at it now. My math could be off. My math is off. It looks like Trump picked up a little bit more votes out of Georgia. My math could be off. Let me check though, because this is important. That Georgia could actually be, it's 24. No, it changed. 2,400 votes the last time I checked. So it's looking around the same, maybe 21, about 2,100 votes, if my calculations is correct. And that number just keeps shrinking and shrinking and shrinking. I don't know if another 4 years of Trump is good for quote unquote Black America, as they call us. I don't think that it is. I could be honest with you. In some senses, it's leverage for those of us who are reparationists and are pushing for reparations. Then, yeah, the Trump presidency can be used as leverage. And, you kind of go through the cyclical battle of fighting the blue checks on Twitter and Instagram, the whole blame black men movement, because we don't want to vote anymore against our best interests, But when you look at Biden and Kamala, there's a possibility that we get rocked right back to sleep for the next 4 years, possibly 8 years. I couldn't even see them losing in 2024. Who the Republicans gonna run? Ivanka? She might be locked up along with Trump. That's my prediction. My prediction is that Trump and the whole family, they getting locked up. That people in the administration is getting locked up. I just seen an article popped up not too long before I went live saying that there is a special investigation for improper usage of the White House by Trump. Just saying. I'm just saying. So we can't let what happened in the Obama presidency. Think about it. The HR 40 started to pick up some steam. HR 40 started to pick up some steam. And this was before Obama got elected. Obama came out and made a few statements against reparations, and that thing died for 8 years. It's dead. It was dead. It wasn't until after, well, I think during the last year of his run, not his run, 2016, Clinton and Trump's run, you started to see some movement with HR 40 insofar as signatures are concerned. Then the ADOS movement happened. And, we like I always said, no matter what, I'm going to always give credit where credit is due. Always. But the ADOS movement came and, it took the defibrillator, if you will, and put it to the chest of reparations. And that bill, HR 40, started to gain a heartbeat, so much so that there's over 130 signatures on it now, 130 sponsors. Could be up to 140 by now. I haven't looked at it in a minute because I know that it needs to be edited or it just needs to be scrapped. Period. There's the possibility that under Kamala and Biden and Kamala, we can get rocked back to sleep like we did during the Obama years. They said when you know better, you do better. We know better now, family. We have been informed. We have been informed on, whether it's from this channel to Breaking Brown or Tones Talks. Like I said, no matter what's going on, I'm gonna always give honor where honor is due, because we don't do that petty, corny little girl stuff over here. Not at all. And we know better, so we can do better. We can be better teachers to those who are ignorant to the process. I'm gonna pull up an article in a little while about COVID, etc. But I'm gonna bring Josh on if he has anything to speak to right now. Right, I don't think Josh is logged in.
Yeah.
Okay.
Peace, family.
Peace. What's going on, bro?
Hey, man, just it's been a while, couple of nights, man. We just and days and nights. We've been following this thing and trying to make sense of it, and trying to get a good feel of how we can move forward. So, but I wanted to say a couple of things. Just looking at it, it's going to be real interesting when you look at how Democrats are going to move forward, because they're we at Be the Power been talking about a congressional focus, and we knew that we had to have a congressional focus in order to have a Congress that we could have a chance to move reparations forward with, right? And a lot of other policies that we need. And we're looking at the Senate, and it's looking highly unlikely that Democrats were going to win the Senate. It looks like the last states that haven't been called are, I think, Alaska, but the lead is so crazy there. That's not changing. Georgia, those are going into a runoff, and both of those are not likely. And what was the last one? I think it's North Carolina hasn't been called yet.
No, North Carolina, Pennsylvania, Georgia.
I'm talking about for the Senate.
Oh, for the Senate. Oh, okay. Yeah. You're right.
I think it's just North Carolina with Tillis. He's leading. I think it's Cunningham. So when we look at that, the Republicans are gonna look like they're gonna maintain the Senate, and that's not a good look. Like that's terrible, really, because it's time to do redistricting in a lot of states, and on the state level, even Republicans picked up, in a lot of places. I think I was looking at some statistics. I think it was like they got control of state legislatures, I think, in 22 states, and Democrats got 9 or something. So now we're talking about further gerrymandering, which is going to make it harder to win elections in the future, national elections in the future. So like the main thing is, like, Democrats needed to win the Senate because it was going to be harder to move forward for them in the future. It's going to be real hard because this trending, like, Republicans they just have stacked this deck up so crazy that Democrats will have to get in charge. They will have to make DC a state. They'll have to make the Virgin Islands and Puerto Rico a state to try to even this thing out. They'll have to put some more seats in the Supreme Court to even it out, to make it to where they have a chance at winning, accomplishing something, or winning like a majority without having to like cover a 6-point spread to have a fair chance for them to get control of national politics, and that's not the case. So I think we started. I think is the title of this show. Does it have reparations in it?
Did I put reparations? Yeah, I did. I said Black America delivered the White House. Now it's time to push harder for reparations.
Okay, all right, I got you.
There's a question. I'm gonna get to this question, but I wanted to speak to what you said real quick about gerrymandering, because you shared an article earlier in the inbox that was powerful, and it was about progressives. I don't know if you wanted to pull that up a little later, but that was a powerful, powerful argument about how basically progressivism died this election. And the author went and made a very, very great case. And it was something that I had said even on this platform a couple months back, that the progressive movement with Bernie Sanders being pushed out by the DNC and Cenk Uygur, as popular as he is, as popular as TYT is, losing that local race that he ran in California may have signaled a seeming death blow for like true progressive movement. And one of the things that we see with Nancy Pelosi, she's just like the devil to me, the wicked witch. But they don't want progressive politics. These corporate Democrats are basically Republicans. They're just not as evil or as nefarious, but they're basically the same people. They're millionaires. They think about their own taxes. They think about their own businesses. Some of them are invested in private prisons, et cetera, et cetera. So they won't risk running progressive or what's called Justice Democrats if, well, no, let me reword that. They won't risk backing those types of Democrats. They would rather lose the general election, lose the Senate, than to back a true progressive agenda. And well, given us Clinton in 2016 and Biden in 2020, Trump was just so horrible at his job that was all that was needed to push him out, his own job performance. But the corporate Democrats, which is headed by Barack Obama, they are willing to risk it all for their positionality in American politics and in government. Whether it's an election, the general election or the Senate, Pelosi can't stand AOC and the rest of them because they challenge her. Now they're talking about replacing Pelosi as the speaker with Hakeem Jeffries, whom some say is even more to the right than Nancy Pelosi is. A horrible, horrible representative for just democracy, but a great representative for corporate democracy. So I got this question, Josh, in the chat from Young King Worldwide, and I assume that's what YNG means. It says, should ADOS sell our votes or be either Democratic or Republican? What do you think about that question? Because I really don't understand what it means. And maybe the brother can give us some clarity. Should ADOS sell our votes or either be Democratic or Republican? What do you think about that?
Should we sell our votes?
Mm-hmm.
I don't even understand what that means.
Yeah,
Should we sell our votes?
I didn't understand the question. I was maybe thinking maybe I read it wrong or was not looking at it properly, but
should we be Democratic or Republican? We have to be self-interested. We self-interested. We that's the point. We have to we come up with our agenda, and we're not going to be Republicans. It's going to have to be a major shift to happen. Now I'm talking about on the national stage. Local, that I mean, you know, supporting some Republicans, or working with Republicans to help them win. That may work in like a local election or something like that. But we talk about a national election like presidents, or even like the U.S. Senate. That's not really going to make a whole lot of sense, because they're voting on things like you would have to get the majority of the Republican Congress to vote on policies that help ADOS, and that's just not going to happen.
Mhm.
We're not going to see that. I mean, you looked at like the Democratic Party with Johnson and Kennedy, and that took a major shift. But I mean, that's not something that we can see happening with this Republican Party. It's so
Mhm.
like they have stacked this thing so hard. It's really hard. It's like concrete. It's hard to shift. The same man. Y'all, I was reading a book. I can't remember. Oh, I was going back and listening to when affirmative action was white,
Mhm.
and in the beginning of the book, it was talking about how like the Southern Democrats. This is back in like the New Deal era. They had set it up to where pretty much like there was no deviation from people being a Democrat. Like it was impossible to even have anything other than Democrats running in the South, and like they wouldn't cede any power, they wouldn't lose any elections. That you didn't have a chance, and the only if they had any quibble, it would be within party. But as soon as they decided on who was running with the party, nobody would deviate, nobody would split, everybody, because they wanted to preserve their white supremacy in the South. And we see that a lot of that still goes on with Republicans, and they're not really, because there was a switch. The conservative party, the party that was the face of like hardcore racism, the let's say the party of the wolf. We got the wolf and the fox. The wolf would just take a bite out your behind when he sees you. The fox waits till you go to sleep, and then he go for your throat after smiling at you and playing with you all day. So the party of the wolf used to be the Democrats, and but after the civil rights era, it switched, and we've seen that largely most of those people went over to, I ain't gonna say all of them, but most of them went over to be Republicans. So today, the Republican Party is a party of the wolf, and they've in many areas it's damn near close to how it was in the South. Like they work. I mean, they don't care about you don't like Democrats. You see, like we're talking about Justice Democrats, we're talking about progressive, we're talking about people that are liberal, people are moderate, center left, center right. Like those people, a lot of those people, the space for them in the Democrats is not a like broken up party. And there's a whole lot of quabble and disagreement. On the right, it's not so much of that. Like they come together like Voltron for white supremacy, and to um, hold the total party line over there. It's not so much with Democrats. It's a lot of contention, much difference of ideologies, and I think that allowed the Republicans to solidify their hold. So if you're thinking that we can sell our vote to Republicans on like for the presidency or for a national election, the only thing you can do is have the threat of not voting Democrat, because our people going to look at our people. We 87% for Joe Biden in this election. Jim, I don't know how a candidate disrespectful or worse for our people than Joe Biden. I don't think anybody will ever have a candidate that's that bad. You know, I mean, if you look at, I'm just going on here, but uh, yeah, I agree, Maya Wesley. But if you look at the policies that are on the books today, I don't. I think you can make the argument that there's not a single piece of legislation more damaging to our people today um, than the crime bill. You know, you can. I don't know if there's a single piece of legislation that we've
Maybe,
seen in our
maybe,
lifetime.
maybe the Fugitive Slave Act.
Yeah, but I'm
Yeah,
talking about
right.
in the
In
last
our lifetime,
since
yeah, I feel you. I
yeah
feel
since the
you.
Jim Crow, since the end of Jim
Mm-hmm.
Crow was what I'm
Mm-hmm.
talking about. Like since Jim Crow was ended, I think the crime bill was the worst piece of legislation for our people. If
Look,
somebody else has another piece, please put it in the chat that you think they can rival that. So they put that guy, and we still gave him 87% of our vote. So if that's the case, I don't know how we can ever think we can convince the masses of our people to vote Republican. It ain't gonna happen. So all we can do is
mm-hmm.
try to hold the Democrats' feet to the fire with our vote. You know, they
Um,
feel it. They may be feeling it. I have
yeah.
something else I want to share about the progressivism, but I'm gonna let you. I'm
All
gonna
right.
let you
No,
build
no,
on
no.
something
Matter
else.
of fact, you can go right into that. There's going to be a perfect segue from this brother named God of Jacob, right? Let me pull his first comment back up. He says the Democrats are in trouble, but the politically ignorant don't see it. And the second comment he wrote was Democrats are in trouble in the midterms, laugh out loud. Now, that article that you shared echoed.
You can bring it up. You can bring it up, bro. I'm on my phone. I can't even share it. I would, but if you could bring it up, you saw any pieces in that you wanted to,
I mean,
pull
it
from. But
was
I
how
think
it
it's a telling article.
yeah, it was how it ended. It
Mm.
ended like I was like, damn.
Mm-hmm.
It was how it ended. I mean, the whole article was a good article and it was a good political forecast.
Mm-hmm.
It's especially for us who are reparationists and advocates for our particular type of politics. And for us, I mean, forget just trying to get our people to vote Republican. We can't even get them to vote reparationist Democrat.
Mm.
That part is hard. They're captured by the corporatocracy, if I'm saying that correctly,
Mm-hmm.
within the Democratic Party, with Barack Obama beating that drum in every election cycle. Essentially, these are the people that we have to fight. And that fight really becomes a multifaceted fight because then we got to do battle with the AOCs, right? I got a couple tweets of hers that not AOC, excuse me, the Anna Kasparian of TYT. I got a couple tweets of hers saved up that one day I'm gonna bring up and we're gonna go in on because like we are gonna be faced with fights within fights. I said it on the last stream that we did. Cenk Uygur claiming to be a progressive shouldn't be surprised or made to see reparations differently when Marianne Williamson is standing there explaining it to him. If you're a progressive and you really care about the things that ail quote unquote black people, then the history of progressiveness or progressivism is rooted in abolitionism and reparationism. So, like, these are all political fights that will come up in the very near future. So, this article kind of gave me some insight into that as well. So, did you want to speak to? You said you wanted to say something about the progressive.
Yeah. Well, you kind of said the same thing I was gonna say, and that is you can't. We said it before, but you can't call yourself a progressive if you're not for reparations. You can't call yourself because I mean, at this country, the fight for equality, the fight for progress, and making the the ideals as expressed in the foundational documents and all other civil rights documents, that was all through us and for us, and the gasoline in the engine behind all that was us. So now you can't think that you can just run the car without putting no gasoline in it. And when you don't have us as the gasoline in that engine, uh, you know, I don't know. I don't know where you think you're gonna go. And I think that's part of the reason why it's failure, because other groups, as we've seen this in this election, they don't have a problem going and abandoning and trying to access whiteness or access, you know, the Republican Party. They don't have there's no shame in that, you know. So our people are going to be the most progressive group. And I think so. What it is now we have to start saying, okay, let's look at how we can center progressivism back where it's supposed to be at. You know, not based on some kind of wild policies like open borders. America show if you go back and look at what a lot of the different Latino groups are saying. They're not for no open borders. They want to close down immigration. You know, they want to like curtail that off. A lot of them. That's not what they care about. That's not what they care about. People want to access America. They don't want to open the floodgates for more people to come and access their opportunity in America. What sense does that make? You know? So I think you know, if it's going to be somebody that's going to further the Democratic Party or get anybody fired up, nobody's fired up to be a moderate. People get fired up for change for the better of society, not to just play a political game where stuff just kind of remains neutral and the status quo is maintained. And especially the younger people that's getting into politics, you're not going to get nobody fired up. You're going to have to put the gasoline back in the engine, which is you're going to have to embrace our issues, not just when our blood spill in the street by police or some vigilante racist white people. You're going to have to embrace policies that really transform the material lives of ADOS people, the foundational Black folks of America. You know, I say that. I ain't.
Look.
Go ahead.
I feel like they jacking our slang over there on BTP.
Nah.
All right, look. So Michael Walter has an interesting question and statement. He said, "Hey Naheem, why do you think Dems have a good shot in 2024? Trump has made moderate Republicans like Mitt Romney seem attractive. Hell, Biden is a mod Republican himself. It's so hard to unseat the incumbent in the general election. I mean, I think they spoke to it only happening, 4 times? I could be off on that number. But it's a hard thing to do. I remember when the towers fell, even though I believed in the conspiracy theories, I believed that Bush Jr. W should have stayed president to finish whatever job that he had started. But this was because of media manipulation. It was constant. It was on every channel. I was working at the spot for the mentally ill, and I worked overnight, so I would like put the news on and like just literally have the news on most nights. And a lot of times I actually watch Fox News, and that was around the year, I want to say 2000, 99, 2000. So, but that was media manipulation. And, you know, some of us break out of that stuff, right? But a lot of us don't. So I don't believe that a Mitt Romney running in 2020, and I don't even, like I said, outside of Ivanka, I don't see the Republicans putting a viable candidate up to defeat an incumbent, particularly if this dude Biden, who's already someone that older white America can feel comfortable with as a moderate centrist, right? I just don't see it. That's just my personal thing. I'm no expert on it, but that's my response to your answer. What do you think about that, Josh?
About What was it about Biden? I mean, Romney and
Yeah,
looking more attractive because of Trump put all the people way
but
too far right.
yeah, he asked, why do you think Dems have a good shot in 2024? That was a statement that I had made earlier. I mean, you could even
Mm.
speak to my statement and his question.
Mm. I mean, it's always gonna be hard. Like I said, they stack the deck. They Republicans to gerrymandering, man. With it's so hard for a Democrat to win any national election. As far as like presidency and also in many national elections in different states. But I don't know, man. I don't know. I mean, I have to see who. It's going to be tough because what are they? I don't know if they're going to have a. If let's say Biden wins because he's on track to win. I don't know if they're even going to have an easy track to keep the White House in 2024. I don't. I have to see. It's too early for me to call that. We're gonna have to see what because I don't Biden's so decrepit and so he barely making it. Like Trump said, he might need to get him drug tested right now because I don't know how he's still giving speeches and standing. He on something right now, but he gonna have to go somewhere and sit down a little bit. But um, I think Biden ain't gonna stay. He's not gonna make it. He's gonna step down. It's gonna be Kamala. That was the play from the jump anyway. But I don't know, man. I have to see. I have to see how this presidency goes. If it's more of like a moderate, we're gonna get back to Obama type of stuff, man. It's gonna be tough, man. I don't know who Republicans gonna run, but they have a good. They have. I wouldn't say that they have a worse chance than the Democrats winning. Whoever it is, whoever is gonna be, most likely. I don't know if they're gonna be as unpopular as Kamala would be, or as unpopular as yeah, Biden at 99 years old would be.
Mm.
So I don't know, man.
All
But
right,
all
we
I
got.
know is
Mhm.
on the congressional side, usually when the new side, the new party takes power, you see like a shift back, and to the other party as far as in the Congress. So that's not a good omen. If it's only going to be Biden for 4 years, and then it shifts back to Republicans. Let's say they take the House. Now they got the House and the Senate because Democrats they were banking on being able to hold the House. They always gonna have a better odds of winning House seats and not Senate seats. But now, that's been changing too. So it's gonna have to be some serious work put in.
All
But
right.
go
So
ahead, bro.
before we bring the article up, I want to Young King Worldwide ask the question. He says, so should we as American descendants of slavery separate and become a different group from our diehard Democratic brothers and sisters, create our own party, and then elect our own politicians to represent us? That is what I'm saying. That's what I'm about. Some may argue that it's not feasible, that we just need to keep riding with the Democrats. And I don't know how you can keep doing that while being ignored, right? Sister Tamara Johnson Shirley was on the ballot for a reparationist, on the ballot for the U.S. Senate out of Georgia. And I mean, I, you know, I'm wondering who that's supposed to be for reparations went and voted for somebody that not only not doesn't have reparations on their platform, but really has no black agenda, has the real all lives matter platform as a platform, right? It makes you wonder. But I mean, my answer to that question is that's what I would like to see. I believe you have a lot of disaffected black voters, and they're getting sucked up into the Republican Party with all of its baseless rhetoric and whacked out conspiracy theories and QAnon, and you got young Pharaoh and a bunch of these other guys that are teaching a whole bunch of other nonsense. These are the people that we should be pulling in, not the Democrats. Like, it's certain things that I question about a lot of stuff, but I'm not going to touch that right now. But yeah, to that question, we need to, I believe, and like I said, I could be challenged on this by anybody, but I believe that that's the route that we need to be going, starting our own political party and running our own candidates, period. Because I don't see the Democrats, and that's what this article is breaking down. Let me pull this thing up. That's what this, Josh, did you want to speak to that?
Yeah, well, I mean, I'll be honest with you, I'm not, that sounds good, but I haven't done the prerequisite research to like see the viability of that, as far as like where we're going to get money from, to run, we can't even hardly run candidates, that we on any large scale, within a party, to win election. We know, as far as we got some people in the Black Caucus and whatnot, but I get that, but those are not candidates that are like beholden to us. Like, I don't see too many that are out here running on the platform that we need. So I don't know if they're really, like, we may vote them in, but we didn't raise them up to vote them in, or we didn't provide an agenda we need them to run on, and for the national, to be a representative for in the Congress, and to push for certain specific policies for us. Like, that hasn't happened. So, I don't know. As far as a party, yeah, I guess it couldn't hurt, but I haven't done enough research to see or understand the vibe of how that can be viable as far as getting to the result we need to get to, which is getting legislation into the Congress and passing the Congress that closes the racial wealth gap. So I don't know, how do you think, or if anybody in the chat has an answer, or brother Naheem, if you have an answer as far as how we could leverage our own political party to the point where we can get to see the mission through.
All right, look, let's get through this article.
Because it sounds good. It sounds good. It feels good. We'll come back to it. We'll come back.
Yeah, let's come back to that, because I think this article helped me even, well, not help, but solidified rather my particular stance about I don't see no other path. And let's go back and read the headline. The 2020 election has brought progressives to the brink of catastrophe. That's a powerful headline. Matter of fact, let me put this in the chat. I want you all to read this when you get a chance, because this is it's something that we should research and look into and consider as we start making our congressional push for 2022. He gets into the opening, but it's this line at the bottom, right? All right, I'll read the opening. It says, barring an act of malign intervention, Donald Trump will be a one-term president. As of this writing, Joe Biden has won 253 electoral college votes, with expected wins pending in Nevada, Arizona, and Pennsylvania, and decent odds of eking past the president in Georgia. If you told Democrats 1 year ago that their nominee would reassemble the party's quote-unquote blue wall in the Midwest and make long-awaited gains in the Sun Belt to boot, they would have been ecstatic. Today, they brought less ecstasy to blue America than an amalgam of relief and despair. And for good reason. The 2020 election was likely a nigh catastrophic setback for progressive politics in the United States. I mean, he gives this person, let me make sure this is a he, yeah, Eric Levitz gives his reason, and he's breaking down basically the electoral map. If America were the kind of republic where a party could govern by winning the most votes, Democrats would be in excellent shape. The party has won the popular, let me pause and say, politically, the Democrats lean more towards that moral arc, right? They help build, I should say, that moral arc that leans towards justice to a greater degree than the Republicans do. The Republicans will cheat. And one of the things that he's saying in this article is they are most certainly going to do extensive gerrymandering over the next couple years because they have some type of majority. I'll see if I can find that in the paper. In the article. It says Democrats will be in excellent shape. The party has won the popular vote in all but one election since 1992. No other party in U.S. has ever won popular backing for its standard bearer as many times in a 3-decade period. But we are not that kind of polity. Instead, we operate under an archaic constitutional framework that awards individual voters wildly different levels of political power depending on where in the country they happen to live. A voter in Wyoming enjoys 70 times as much influence in the U.S. Senate as one in California, due to a population disparity between the two states that is much larger than any that existed at the time of the founding. And, he gives his points about the founders. This is I don't want to read this whole thing. And I read it right before I came on, so I
But it's
wasn't able
hard
to
to not
highlight.
read it. It's hard to not read
Yeah,
it.
it's
Once you
hard to
go in on
not.
something, it builds
Yeah,
up
but
and
this
it,
is a
and it
long
makes a
article.
point. Yeah,
Yeah,
I see.
this is a very long article, and I'm not going to read this thing, but I am going to go to the end, right? Because this part interests me, and I believe that it should be of interest to us all in our appeal for expanding a program like Be the Power, for instance, into a greater media platform so that we can start getting our message out by those who may have the capital to invest in such a platform so that we can start to move this thing a specific type of way. It says, meanwhile, Democrats must put serious time, energy, and resources into discerning whether there are any low harm concessions to rural opinion and sensibilities that could staunch the party's bleeding outside of metro areas, because he's breaking down in this article that many rural areas are lost. And this election proved that. He says, to the extent that Democrats can win elections by running candidates in red areas who are, quote unquote, anti-gun control, in the same sense that Susan Collins is, quote unquote, pro-choice, loudly proclaiming the ideological stance on the campaign trail while effectively abetting the cause one purports to oppose while in power, progressives might be wise to give such heretics some latitude. Separately, something must be done to counter the benefits that the GOP derives from Fox News, right-wing talk radio, and crypto-conservative news broadcasters like Sinclair. Sinclair is a monster with local media, for those of you who don't know. They own most of the local media stations. Bleeding heart billionaires like George Soros and Tom Steyer might be well advised to bankroll newspapers in swing state capitals with hefty budgets for investigating Republicans. They could also attempt to emulate Sinclair's strategy and buy up local news stations or even sports channels and lightly season their programming with progressive propaganda. Now, when I say progressive, I'm not talking about the same type of progressivism that a George Soros would fund, but I'm talking about the reparation or reparationism, progressivism that a Robert Smith could fund, that an Ice Cube could fund, that a
Not Ice Cube.
huh?
Not Ice Cube. I would say somebody
He could
like
throw
a
some chips up in there.
yeah,
You know, some
yeah.
of the
Oh
other
yeah, he could
billionaires.
contribute. He could make some
Um,
contributions. There you go.
Byron Allen. You
That
see, like,
look.
mhm,
Listen, when you was reading that,
mhm,
when I read it, and I knew you would see it. That's why I wanted. That's why I wanted you to read it. I knew
mhm,
you would think of Byron Allen. That was the first person when they said Sinclair. I'm like, okay, Byron
mhm,
Allen brought up a bunch of Sinclair networks. Like he brought up a bunch of Sinclair networks,
mhm.
including sports sports like networks. You know, and I'm like, man, let him keep on building. And we brought up I think it was the Griot. Now I want to. He will be a guy who will be well positioned. Now I don't know whether he's going to do it or not, but
Mhm.
this reading this is like, okay, he's following, like he's checking a lot of these boxes,
Yeah,
and I just think it like it's going to take like it's going to take people to use those positions to lift up the voices that are needed to push back, and that's what we did. We have been pushing back, like all of the people that are out here loud in the ADOS space have been pushing back, and we need to be elevated so that we can fight back against these other devils out here. But go ahead.
it continues. Regardless, Democrats should avert their eyes from the bleaker aspects of last night's returns or from the most ominous portents for the party's future. There were plenty of heartening small victories last night and some positive structural trends for the party, which I've given short shrift here. The rising generation's unprecedented hostility to conservatism, chief among them. And I'm going to read the articles that he has in this piece because it looks like he has some good articles. And from a strategy standpoint, this is the stuff that we need to be reading and assimilating into how we move forward. Because my daughter, yeah, I think it was either yesterday or the day before yesterday, she was like, Dad, I've decided I'm going to be a politician. And she's 14. She'll be in voting age in 4 more years, the next election. So she's decided that she wants to become a politician, which is what I wanted for her. I wanted her to become a politician because she has the mind and she's a young little activist. All right. It says the rising generation's unprecedented hostility to conservatism, chief among them. And of course, Democrats shouldn't deny themselves a moment of congratulation for probably cutting short the presidency of an authoritarian ignoramus. What's just ended is worth celebrating. Barring a down ballot triumph in Georgia, what's just begun is not. The bittersweetness of Biden's victory consists precisely in the fact the Trump era is dying and a progressive one cannot be born. That's deep. If we are to find our way out of this interregnum, we'll need to face up to our republic's morbid symptoms. That is as ominous of an article that I've read about a party that just won an election. There's a thing called, if I'm saying this correctly, a Pyrrhic victory, where you march 200,000 men into a battlefield, and you lose 85% of them. Now you may win, you might have won, but you lost your whole troop. Basically, you can't defend against nobody. You have to raise up new soldiers. You got to train them up. You're not prepared to fight off any incoming invasion. And I'm just using that as an analogy, but that's how this article read, as a Pyrrhic victory, if I'm saying that correctly. So this article let me know that during this interregnum, this halt, this cease in government that, not necessarily a cease. Government is still going to happen, but governing, I should say. We need to come up with a great strategy. We have to. Reparations is what we stand on, and we have to push that thing till the wheels come off. We have to. Josh dropped off. We have to make sure that we're talking to our celebrities. Like, we just got to be honest. We don't have that much leverage, fam. Like, we just don't have that much leverage. It's one thing to get people having a conversation about a thing, right? And that thing for us is reparations. It's another thing to get action behind reparations, because HR 40 can be deemed the action behind reparations. But as we've shown on Be the Power, HR 40 is just nothing more than a bag grab. So it's a money heist for people that will study something that really the study has already been done for, i.e., or e.g., Dr. Darity and Kirsten Mullen's book, From Here to Equality, Reparations for Black America in the 21st Century. I mean, Sister North said I am saying that correctly. Thank you. I always wondered if I was pronouncing that correctly and never thought to look it up. But yeah, Brother Josh, did you want to speak to any of that?
I don't even know what the topic was, man. I fell off. My connection dropped.
Okay, but I'll give you something to jump in on. Maya Wesley.
Mm-hmm.
Because this seems like an anti-reparationist statement. Says, no matter your race, nobody in their right mind hands out bundles of money. Gain a rich mindset instead of a poor mind, then you will build wealth. You want to speak to that, brother?
I mean, look, there is value in learning like wealth building principles and learning like leadership and learning, business skills and learning, personal finance and all that kind of stuff. If you can find some type of wealth building vehicle, it's value in building a relationship. It's value in, to having a vision board and doing the affirmations and all that stuff. I mean, it's value. It's value in it. I mean, it's a common. It's some. You can look at a common denominator from the people that have, come from nothing and made it into something, and they did some form of that, whether they were unconscious or if it was a conscious action, right? But that's not what we're talking about. We're not talking about like aspiration to make billions and millions and 100 millions. Yeah, that's great for those people. We're talking about we're not talking about raising the ceiling for a few. We're talking about raising the floor for all, and raising the ceiling for all. We're not just a few. So yeah, I understand. No, what I get from a lot of people when we have the conversation talking about reparations is basically, why y'all waiting on reparations? And I'm not saying this is what she's saying. It's interesting when we comment through the chats. I hope people don't feel like we're punching down or anything like that. We don't always understand what people are saying, and I don't see all the chats, so I don't know where people are coming from. But I'm just using this as an opportunity to speak to a larger issue, something that we hear so frequently. I'm sure any of us has been advocating over the last, I don't know, few months or few years. You've been hearing some of the same things. Well, why y'all waiting on reparations? White man ain't gonna never do that. America ain't gonna never do that. Why would they cede power? Look, we're never saying about waiting on reparations. We're not saying that that's how we're gonna get rich. We're saying that's what we need to exist and to survive, to move forward. Otherwise, we're just gonna be, you can just forget it. Like we're just gonna be stomped under. We already pretty much under the bottom. We're gonna be stomped under the bottom, and
All right, so
if you
let's.
don't advocate for it, you can just forget it.
She says, so what is reparations in your opinion? She's, we ain't got to beat the sister up,
No, no, no.
but
That's not what it's
I'm
going on.
at the
You
point
know.
where, like, when you could have just came to this channel, but this and seeing that we were live in your YouTube live stream, but I want to do this for this sister. I want to, because she spoke about handing out bundles of money, right? And I want to play something from MLK for this sister real quick.
Oh yes, that's key right there.
Maya Wesley, I want you to listen to this. Hear Dr. King explain, because the same conditions that we were in economically then we're in now.
At the very same time that America refused to give the Negro any land, through an act of Congress, our government was giving away millions of acres of land in the West and the Midwest, which meant that it was willing to undergird its white peasants from Europe with an economic floor. But not only did they give the land, they built land grant colleges with government money to teach them how to farm. Not only that, they provided county agents to further their expertise in farming. Not only that, they provided low interest rates in order that they could mechanize their farms. Not only that, today, many of these people are receiving millions of dollars in federal subsidies not to farm, and they are the very people telling the black man that he ought to lift himself by his own bootstraps. And this is what we are faced with, and this is a reality. Now, when we come to Washington in this campaign, we are coming to get our check.
So, we had to play that.
Powerful, bro. Powerful.
Very
Every time I
powerful.
seen that, man, that was powerful.
Very powerful. Some people say that she's just trolling. It seems like it. She says grants for education is a great idea. We've touched on all of this stuff already, but it's so funny that she would still be typing that while listening to Dr. King break it down about how these people have received the Europeans, how the government gave away millions of acres of land to European peasants. Not us. Not us. They locked us out of everything. Then gave them, what did he say? Land grant colleges. Gave them farmland. Mechanized their farm.
Gave them people to train them how
farm.
to work it and all that.
Oh yeah, and they were able to build generational wealth. So Maya Wesley, you don't know, you gotta read a little bit more. People are putting book titles in this chat for you to read. I don't know if you're trolling or not. We're gonna bring on my man Ankh the God Killer. What's good, Ankh?
Hey man, what's going on, brothers? How you doing, Josh? How you feeling, brother? What's up with you?
Peace, family. I'm doing great, bro. Doing great.
What you think about what's going on, Ankh?
Oh, I just find it very interesting, man. I've been having a lot of fun over the last couple of weeks. I've been kind of challenging like Biden supporters with just information. And I think Josh mentioned it earlier. He was talking about the crime bill and how it was kind of devastating to the black community. And when I drag a person with that, like the top-notch response is, especially from the people I grew up with, well, Unc, you changed, so why can't he? You know what I'm saying? He apologized. I said, yes, but there's one little small factor there. You got people that spent 15, 20 years in prison and just coming home, a lot of my friends, and you can't apologize to that. You can't give them time back with their families. You know what I'm saying? Like, at this point, the apology is mute. Like, who cares? My daughter is grown now. I spent 15, 20 years in jail for nonviolent crimes. You know what I'm saying? That absolutely, makes no sense to me. And it was like, it's personal to me because I grew up in it, right? My life was affected by it.
That's right.
Okay, and so I understand the nuances. And sitting back now, this is deep. Sitting back now, sometimes when you in it, you don't have proper perspective. It's like if you're trying to learn about any religion, the proper thing to do is to get out of the religion and learn about it, and then make your choice. It's the proper way to do it. You can't learn about it in a daggone religion. You got to get out of it, study the history around it, and then learn it. And so being out of that situation, when I look back on it, it was a hell of a narrative being played in the Black community and amongst politicians that helped push that bill along. And the narrative was clear that, man, crack cocaine is dangerous. It's killing us. And when I sit back and look at it, Baltimore City is a heroin town where they sell heroin, where you get those soup kitchen lines, right? And individuals that sniff heroin, they can be very violent at times. It gives you an extra grit to you. One reason is that heroin, you got to use it every day once you get hooked. There is no days off. Whereas though, if a person is hooked on crack cocaine, you got chain smokers, you got smokers that only get smoked when they get paid. You don't have that option when you on heroin. You got to get it every day. And so people who sell heroin or use heroin, a lot of times they pick up that gun. They can become very violent in trying to get this drug. Whereas though individuals on crack, you might find your antennas missing off your car, your porch furniture might be missing. You know what I'm saying? They might steal things. Petty. They brought the pettiness out you, but it wasn't dangerous and as ruthless as the heroin trade was. It wasn't that. And a lot of people that got actually caught up, which really outrages me, puts me in a rage, is that most people that was selling crack cocaine was like people that was using it. 8 balls, ounces, quarter ounces, sevens, stuff like that, right? And they was the ones catching the serious time. Whereas though the people that had the keys of cocaine, who had enough sense not to cook that up, they was Gucci. That didn't necessarily affect them. And so a lot of those people, instead of being thrown in jail for long periods of time, really just needed help. How do I know they can do that? Because they're doing it right now. The opioids kill more people than crack cocaine ever have. Are they throwing them in jail like that? No, what they're doing is they're realizing that these individuals need help. That's how you gotta curb the trade. As long as if you slow down the demand, then there's no need there's no need for the actual drug. Kill the demand, right? Decriminalize it. Okay, so like alcohol was decriminalized. I can't hear you. Oh, alcohol was decriminalized.
My bad. Look, I said, or just stop it from coming into America.
We didn't even get to that. So let's not even talk about the law sentences you got. If you had 5 keys of cocaine, you got caught. If you got caught with 5 keys of cocaine, you would only get 5 years, 1 year key. If you got caught with an ounce of crack, you might be talking 10, 12 years. Like, that's ridiculous. And not to mention, whenever you mix money with locking up people in sentences, that's not right. So remember, states was getting an extra $12.5 billion if they went with the 80% sentencing. So as soon as you agree to the 80% sentencing, make people do 80% of their sentencing, okay, you would get $12.5 billion. As soon as you do that, the whole thing is crooked and corrupt. Feeding the prison industrial system, money should never be tied to that. You shouldn't be getting breaks for that. We're gonna build prisons for you free, right? If your state does this, come on, man, and for the fact that people can't see that, how damaging the crime bill. Everything about the crime bill wasn't negative. I'm not gonna sit here and do that, but I'm saying the parts that really affected us was a travesty. And so people say to me, so, they sold drugs in our community, they sold poors in our community. Are you suggesting they not getting no time? I said, no, I suggest they get the same amount of time that everybody got that was selling cocaine during that time.
That's right.
Crack
That's
cocaine
right.
got less cocaine than cocaine. Why can't people understand that?
That's right.
I'm gonna say it again. Crack cocaine has less cocaine
That's
than
right.
cocaine. You
They're
talking
locking you up for baking soda.
right?
You get
So I get
locked
more
up
time for
more.
89 thing of baking soda.
That's right.
And wait a minute. Do you realize I could get in an argument with a person and kill him and get manslaughter and get less time than some person with an ounce of crack cocaine? How can I get less time for a violent crime, right? And more time for selling a damn plant? Because that's all cocaine is a damn plant. Buggy Siegel, Mild Lanchi, and them sold alcohol. You know what I'm saying? And they was killing each other for it. They took the criminality out of it, and the crime dropped. Listen, man.
No, that's an excellent point. I want to address this comment that I have up on the screen. Young King Worldwide said, "How do we find or persuade Black politicians to push our agenda, or do we just support grassroots reparationists and educate future Black politicians?" See, it's hard to find. This topic is one that a lot of politicians don't want to touch. Young King is one that they don't want to touch because they feel that it's not a politically feasible discussion. And a lot of Democrats, particularly Black ones, are trying to appeal and peel off as much of the white vote as they can. And this is why Sister Tamara Johnson Shirley's run was so important, because she said when she was in the rural parts of Georgia campaigning, she would bring up reparations. And she said people had never heard of the word reparations before, didn't know what it was. She had to explain it to them. And remember, our sister got 100,600 votes or something like that. Over 100,600 votes. And that came from spreading a reparations message. So you take something that is popular insofar as a talking point where some guy on media is interviewing a politician and wants to know his or her stance or position on reparations, but flip it and it is an unpopular thing, particularly with people who would live in rural areas, right? Like there's a Twitter comment that says, "Still wanting something for nothing." So this person obviously is talking about our reparations push. He believes that we're trying to get something for nothing, not the fact
we
that
ain't
we
trying to get
built
something
America's wealth.
With reparations?
We done already did the something. If you're in America and you're taking advantage of America being the richest country in the world, that was the something that we got paid nothing for. So what we're coming to do is we're looking at the accrued disadvantage of us collecting nothing. Not only not collecting nothing from slavery, which was a renege of the 40 acres and a mule, but also us collecting nothing when white America was propped up, because there was a whole lot of poverty in white America. The racial wealth gap was a lot slimmer. But then the New Deal came and it lifted up, it created a floor that Black folks was largely locked out of. We was locked out of because that was like the agreement to get the Southern Democrats to even do the New Deal. You had to give them the discretion to make sure that we got kept out of the benefit. A lot of us was working like field hands, and we was working service jobs and all these type of jobs that didn't even qualify for Social Security. We didn't get access to the GI Bill. You can go look at like in Mississippi. I think it was like 1948 or 47 or sometime in the 40s and 50s, Mississippi. One year they had like 3,500 GI Bill applicants, recipients, excuse me, and only 2, and this is in Mississippi, where majority black state, only 2 were black. How would you say it was something for nothing? Something for nothing. You want to talk about, if you look at employment discrimination alone, that alone cost black folks, I believe, $1 trillion in lost wealth, a collective $1 trillion.
That's
you
right.
know, so and I'm not talking. I'm talking more after slavery. If you want to look at redline, all these things, the wealth that was robbed from us, and guess what? The wealth that was robbed from us, a report came out and said that racism cost America $16 trillion. So
$16
you
trillion.
even rob. So the racism to keep us at the bottom, to keep us deprived, to keep us like in a terrible situation, even robbed your own pockets and your own wealth, $16 trillion. Ain't that something?
That's
So
right.
let's take it all the way back. Let's go back to Bacon's Rebellion. Now, this is a class argument, but it's pertinent to this particular conversation. So you rather talk about us getting something for nothing rather than us getting justice. Stop talking about looking at reparations as, oh, you giving black folks money, they ain't did nothing. Number one, I just said we already did something, but you giving us justice like other groups got that didn't even endure half of what we endure. And see, we go back to Bacon's Rebellion, as you can go in Theodore Allen's book, The Invention of, that's
You
the
going in and
way.
out, Josh.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay, I was saying Theodore Allen's book, The Invention of the White Race, where to keep and I'm just assuming that the person that is making this argument is a lower middle class or lower class, whatever, so-called white American. It might be from some other group or whatever that's be hating on ADOS getting justice too, immigrant. But in that book, he talked about Bacon's Rebellion, how they came across and it was a rebellion against with the lower class Europeans and our people, that was the ADOS folks or DOS folks, and even the freemen black folks that partnered up to rebel against the ruling class whites. And at that time, it wasn't like the racialized system of racial hierarchy that we see today. But they formed that in part to make sure that the lowest white man will always feel like he has a better position in society than the highest black man, quote unquote. And we see that that's a direct. We can draw a direct line from that to that $16 trillion in wealth that America was robbed from by keeping us ADOS people in the bottom, and by doing slavery, and by having discriminatory laws like Jim Crow era segregation and all of that kind of stuff.
All right, I want to address
that guy
this
say, why
question
were
real
we trying
quick.
to get reparations though? My fault. Go ahead.
You said what?
I said, because that just puts me at another level when a person says something for nothing. Like
that's ignorance.
That's my.
It's ignorance. But I want to address this comment by Cornell Emerson. It says, since the Democratic Party being most familiar to a great many black folks / ADOS already, then ADOS needs to take over the Democratic Party instead of creating a new political party from scratch. Look, everybody has their own opinions, and I have mine. I have my opinion. In my opinion, let us look at what just happened. Let us look at what just happened. You had not only mainstream media, you had contributors to these mainstream media outlets, people that look like us, setting up to blame black men into voting. 1, 2, to shame us into voting. Like, you got to be shamed into voting for our party, right? In the middle of all of that, let us go back to the Ice Cube interview with Chris Cuomo. When Chris Cuomo gets off, it was about to go off, and he's transitioning his segment into Don Lemon's segment. Don Lemon says, and stay away from those ADOS people, African descendants of slaves, right? Like these were all, this was signaling. On top of that, you had the attacks coming from Jam Iwuyor, whatever, however you say her name, and Shireen Mitchell and all of these different people that I don't see how. And somebody, if you want the link to come on and give me a better breakdown, please. I'm not the sharpest political mind at all. I'm probably the least sharpest political mind out of BTP, to be honest with you. But I don't see how you take over that party. I don't see how you take over Barack Obama's reign, his stranglehold on that party. I don't see how you take over Pelosi's stranglehold on that party. But if you know a way that is a more viable option than creating our own party with some process that you can lay out for this democratic takeover, I'm all ears. I'm all ears. I'm all ears. So I'll give you the link, brother. If you would like to come on, I'll definitely give you the link. Because I just don't see how you take over the Democratic Party. I just don't see it. I do not see that at all. And, you know, we can run our reparationist candidates as Democrats. They just gonna get glossed over. Barack Obama doesn't believe in reparations. He supported Warnock. Warnock on his platform had nothing about reparations. He had no black agenda, period. How do you, as a reparationist, run as a Democrat like Tamara Johnson-Shirley did? And let's just say she did get the full support of the ADOS movement, particularly in Atlanta and greater Georgia, which probably would have made her come in third or fourth place. Let's just say you still got the weight of a President Barack Obama endorsing Warnock. You still have that weight. That, I don't know, man. Somebody come make it make sense to me. That's all I want. Somebody come give me the blueprint on how you take over the Democratic Party. Being a reparationist, what do you sacrifice? Because we over here, we particularly being in Georgia, we weren't gonna sacrifice Tamara Johnson-Shirley for Raphael Warnock, a corporate Democrat who's not a reparationist. We weren't doing that over here. So I just want somebody to, I got a link for you. I got a link for you. What you think about that, Unc? Taking over the Democratic Party?
No, you just like you can't take over the daggone country. It's already built. It is what it is. I think I like your idea better. Sometimes you need to start from scratch, just to show them that you have the know-all and the know-how to do it. And I think that's valuable. That'll be a valuable statement. And if we find that one party is kind of moving in our directions, then we could lend our hand. We're doing it anyway. Look at the election right now. It's those black votes in Georgia and stuff like that, those mail-in ballots and things of that nature that are actually, pushing, to vote in a certain direction. So you got the power to do it. So just think about it. If we build, first of all, if you want something, right, that fits you, then you should make it for yourself. We know what we need, we know what we want. We can just cut out all the ridiculous statements of we trying to get something for nothing. You talking about the global trade, bro. This is the global market, the industrial revolution is said to be fueled by the transcontinental kidnapping trade. 400 years of this, right? So we need to do our own thing. This is clear. It'll show that you've broken the chains, right? That you're literally willing to mentally participate in this arms race, in this competition that they call being in charge of what you're doing. It's a competition out here in this world. And every group should always stand up for themselves and fortify their own rights. You can't depend on another group to do it for you. Good example is the Jewish community. There are other communities that take the lead in their own involvement and their own production. You should not rely so heavily on parties like the Democratic Party that once was definitely against you. It started off being against you, then it flip-flopped, right? So you should never be that. So I think it'd be a good thing for us to build our own thing. That don't mean that when we see something that we might want to get, we couldn't vote for this or vote for that party. See, it don't mean that. What it means is you showing them that, wait a minute, we woke to the point where we realize we need something that literally fits us. I think, now I'm not trying to, how you going to take the Democratic Party? You're not going to overtake that. That's not part of the game. It's never been that. You got to build your own thing up from the top. And then you show people that you're serious, yo.
Indeed. All right, Mumu, I got you. Give me 1 second. Let me
That's Mumu.
Let me address this. You know Mumu?
Yeah, Mumu.
I mean, don't come up in here on no nuts though, because you'll get booted real quick. You're gonna make your point. Make your point. We having a serious dialogue over here. But Sleeping Omex said, should we stop putting up all the gates and focus on coalition building within the ADOS community, i.e. NOI, FBA, etc.? Look, evangelical Christians voted for Trump. Right-wing militia groups voted for Trump. Those people who, white supremacists in general, that believe that this should just be a lily white nation, voted for Trump. These different groups that might not share the same ideologies are collectively what's called conservative. And they were able and are able to put aside their collective disagreements and come together and vote their interests. I don't think that our Sleeping Omex, I don't think that our people have reached that level of maturity yet, to be honest with you. I just don't. And it's hard to say it's not a knock on a lot of our people, because at the end of the day, it really is. Look what happened with Ice Cube. That same Democratic establishment that we said that we need to take over is the ones that attacked Ice Cube. He didn't endorse Trump. He's trying to get something for us. You see? And I don't know if we are politically mature enough outside of the political circle to coalition build. I just, go back to I think 3 articles that the Final Call, the newspaper for the Nation of Islam, hit pieces that they did on the ADOS movement. Hit pieces. Never interviewed the heads of that movement. Just never did it. But wrote hit pieces. You see? So we can't even find common ground because a lot of groups are apolitical. The Nation of Islam is an apolitical organization. It was rooted in apoliticalism. Elijah Muhammad was apolitical. That's why a lot of his beefs with or rifts with Malcolm X happened, because Malcolm was political. Malcolm understood the pathway to power in this nation. That speech, the ballot or the bullet, is powerful. And while I disagree with some of Malcolm's stances about American politics, insofar as the system, because I always say it's not the system, it's the people in the system manipulating it and bending it to their will, using it as a tool of oppression. The system can work, huh?
That's a good point, bro.
The system can work for, whoever it wants to. I mean, it's not whoever it wants to, whoever has control of it. We never had any, this might be hard to say, political majority, although we're the minority. I hope I ain't confused nobody with that, but we've just never had that. The Congressional Black Caucus are useless cumberers. They're useless. They're not, I mean, they're worthless, and yet these people represent the people that we're supposed to take over the party from. All right, let me see. Crown Royale said y'all dumb. he think, I don't know, I think Crown Royale believe that we're Biden supporters.
Wait, hold on. Do you realize there's a phenomenon going on though?
What?
Both sides. So if you say something about Biden, right, and you critique him on it, then all of a sudden you're a Trump supporter.
Oh yeah. If you say something about Trump, yeah.
That's a phenomenon going on, bro. And I didn't realize it happened. Like, people was mad at me. I said, I'm simply talking about Biden. I've chose to critique this particular person here. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's a hell of a phenomenon.
Real quick, because I didn't address the other part of that, the FBA part, the Tariq Nasheed part. Look, let me say this, man. You know, everybody knows the beef that happened with Tariq Nasheed and Yvette Carnell and Antonio Moore. Like, my team and I, we ain't really respond to none of that stuff because we felt that it was stupid in the first place, to be honest with you. But when Tariq Nasheed started dragging people like Dr. Darity into it, it goes back to my point about not being politically mature enough to do a specific type of politics. And I can be fair and say that I used an analogy among my team. And that was, on the ground, there's a cartoon with the Hulk and Superman, right? This little cartoon is floating around on social media, maybe about a year and a half ago. And on the ground, the Hulk is smashing Superman. He can't get away. Superman can't get away from him. And that to me, I said that was Tariq Nasheed. He was the Hulk. You know, he's good with the dragging you in the dirt stuff. But then I watched Sister Yvette Carnell. I gave her the Superman analogy because she's politically smarter than Tariq Nasheed. So in the cartoon, Superman gets the Hulk in an uncompromising position, puts him in what we call a dope fiend growing up in New York, a chokehold, and flies him all the way up into space where the air is thin, where the Hulk couldn't breathe. And the next thing you know, the Hulk just went to sleep and crashed back down to the earth. And that's what happened in that particular debate. And I've watched a couple of Tariq Nasheed's videos, I think 2 over because he's just not somebody that I'm into. And I've never really been into the brother at all. And you know that, but the fact that he moved into politics, it makes you say, you know what, okay, this is where we all need to be going. Cool. So when I watched the last Tariq Nasheed video I watched, it was 2 of them. One of them, he had 10,000 live viewers, 10,000 live viewers. The next one I watched, he had 8.7 thousand live viewers. Mm-hmm. If you're building a coalition and you see someone has that type of influence, of course, you're serious about reparations, your first inclination is, yeah, we gotta build. But then I have to call into and question the seriousness of someone like that. Is this just the hustle for the day? I don't know. I don't
You
know.
wanna say it? You don't want me to say it.
Is
I
this
say
the
it.
is this the new and I'll ask Tariq Nasheed that directly because I'm different. I'm the type
Yeah.
that confront you. Like we
Yeah.
ain't gonna just do this talking back and forth. Like, yo,
Right.
what's up, man? Let's jump on the camera together or something. We can have the discussion live and direct. So I don't know if he's serious about it, but of course you have to consider that. You got 10,000 live viewers. That's a possible 10,000 votes all over the country. All right, we got to start thinking like that. That's what Tupac said. He said, I sold 5 million records and I was sitting in Rikers Island and I realized that could have been 5 million votes. And Tupac started getting more political. Josh, you unmuted. You wanted to say something?
Yeah, I was just gonna say, well, I think, I wish a lot of people would do right. I just don't think a lot of people are gonna do right. But I think what we have to do is, and I wanted to say this a couple points ago, is we just have to grow. We gotta build this message of like, all right, Biden's in now what? Now we just go back to day-to-day operations until 2023 or 2024. No, now we need to get real, like the same family members that was fighting with you saying you better vote for Biden, you better, they weren't trying to hear you on nothing else. Well, we just need to get Trump out. Okay, Trump is out. So now you need to be active in pushing our message now, which is a message for your salvation too. Like I don't know why people don't understand. I think, man, it's a great video by the brother Antonio Moore that I use. I think it's called like Black Wealth Explained or something like it was one that came out like maybe in July or June, July, August, something like that. But man, that video, it really breaks down the state of Black wealth because I don't think a lot of our people really understand because we see basketball players worth millions. We see all these other people, and we trying to do all kind of businesses. Everybody trying to do. We got all kind of hustles we trying to do, but you got to understand that your family, you might find a way and be good, but most of your family toe up. They financial situation toe up, right? And that's not gonna change. It's only gonna get worse. Like it's only gonna get worse as the strings tighten, as other groups. I mean, look, a lot of even the jobs that used to keep people propped up is going away now. Those jobs that are going away and not come back. You talk about even jobs that used to be able to send like your kids 16 years old or something. They used to be able to go work at a movie theater or something like that. Movie theaters closed down. A lot of retailers closing down, and a lot of things that used to be opportunities that used to be there just to help make it float. That stuff is drying up. So what you gonna do? Like you have to get political, and the only way we're gonna have to grow. When I say grow, I'm talking about like, and I was said, I think it was last night, like we're gonna have to have reparationists in our different churches or whatever mosque. Everybody's gonna have to get on message and be pushing their politicians for the same thing. It's gonna have to be in all the colleges. We're gonna have to in every city. It's gonna have to be the same message. Are you for reparations? Are you for closing the racial wealth gap? And then that's going to be the litmus test for every. It needs to be the litmus test for every politician looking to get our vote. And if you get enough people with all on message with that, you're going to get somebody that rises from among them that takes that message and that's going to get all the support. And then that person's going to get competition. Like right now, Tamara was the only person running for any national election that had that as a part of the platform. Hopefully she gets some competition, and I'm not talking about direct competition. Oh yeah, I hope she does get some direct competition as far as, for her in the next run, because I want to see more reparationist candidates. But hopefully she gets some more people to join her in that fight, not only the national thing. Because my thing is we need to have like we're gonna have to start building from the local, like all the way up, and having the local winning local elections and having those people run on reparationist type of politics, you know, and like the brother Jacory, we need a lot more of that. We need a lot more of that, and a lot less sellouts and people looking for personal advancement and personal gain. We need people that's committed to collective uplift, locally, nationally, wherever. And but that's only going to happen if now in 2020 in 2021, if people say we're gonna have to focus on that. We're gonna have to demand that, and it ain't just gonna be about we just gonna keep go along with, uh, you know, and be apolitical, right? Just be I'm just tired. I'm just fatigued. It just wore me out. No, this is your life. This is the life of your kids and your grandkids, and we've been too long been out of the game. We got to get in the game and stay in the game and make that a part of our culture moving forward. That's the only way, and then grow our numbers. Everybody, like when we first started this program, we said our whole goal is to create. Well, once we came up with the term reparations, you probably like the next show. We said our whole goal is to grow and create more reparationists. And that needs to be everybody's goal. We got to create more reparationists, man. We got to create more and just grow. That to me, that we grow, we gonna see some things change.
Indeed. All right, we got brother Mumu on, and but before you come on, Mumu, let me say, and I'm not. We didn't. We're not losing the focus of tonight's topic, but we are just engaging in a discussion, and really this discussion is the precursor to a lot of the education and debates that we're going to need to have going forward. I gave my opinion, and my opinion is we need a new party. And, you got people that saying, I don't believe that we need a new party. We just need to take over the Democrats. I don't think that that's a viable solution. I don't think that is something that can happen. But the difference between me and a lot of other people is I can stand to be corrected. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. Once I weigh it out and vet everything, I'm gonna be like, okay, yo, you got it. You got it. You're right. So now how do we achieve this goal? But right now, in a clash of opinions, I mean, that's all I have. And I just don't see it. So, brother Mumu,
peace.
Introduce yourself and tell the people how do you see us taking over the Democratic Party?
Peace to y'all, brothers. Peace to you, Uncle. And what's up, baby?
Black African power, brother.
Listen, the first thing I'm gonna say is I appreciate what y'all do here, Uncle. I appreciate what y'all do with the science, and it to me, it all came together. I wrote down an actual plan, and when I say this, get these points for the plan, I want everybody to us as a people to humble ourselves, because for a long time we've been in this kind of like algorithm of like where we feel like it's just us. Like what can we do? What can we alone do for us? And when the rest of the world doesn't work like that, the rest of the world works like it's us. We have them, and them. So we usually kind of like put it all on our backs to say there's hardly any plan to work with people that's not us. And so when I present this plan, I think that could actually work, that we can go forward with. I just want y'all to give it an honest listen. I'm gonna go through it real quick now. Brother Lord Albert, I agree with you on the starting a new party, but I think that we have to do both. We have to take over the Democratic Party and start a new party. And here's how. The first thing we have to do, and this is a strategy for winning. This is a strategy for winning, eventually, whether it be 2024 or 2028. But this is a strategy for winning. So it's not. I don't want people to take it as necessarily we're gonna be able to do all of this stuff or we're gonna make this and that happen. This is strictly a strategy for winning, because every time a politician presents something, you see Trump ain't building no wall. So, but the fact that he ran on that and people got invested in it. So I want y'all to keep this in mind. I'm not saying I don't stand by the things that's on this 10-point program, the first thing we have to do is have somebody well known, whether it be a celebrity or it be a well known politician that's going to be the guy or the woman or person that we're gonna run. And this is the platform that we have to run on. First being reparations. The second being to end the electoral college.
Right.
The third being to make a second choice voting system. Now, this is something that's hardly ever mentioned. In Minnesota, they have a third choice, they have a second choice voting system. So if you vote for an independent and that independent doesn't win, then your second choice vote can go to a Democrat or Republican. So there's no wasted votes. So if we run on a platform of, if we get into office, we're going to make a second choice voting system, meaning that it can open the door for an independent party to actually win. And that will go over well with progressives and new voters. So the third part, the fourth is make a new deal and commitment to Native Americans. The fourth is introduce.
Hold on. What? Please explain to me what Native Americans have to do with us forming a new party and making a new deal with them. Why is that something that should be included in how we take over the Democratic Party?
Okay, bet. I'm gonna get to that because the answer is in these points I'm presenting to you. So let me get through these points right quick, and I'm gonna get you there.
All right,
boss. So we make a new deal and commitment with the Native Americans. We give Black people the same opportunity to have our own lands or reservations, basically the same deal as the Native Americans can have. But of course, if it was actually be done, but we wouldn't be living, just give us the opportunity to have that same way of living. And then we end the exploitation of workers, which has to do with minimum wage and women being able to get more time off if they're pregnant and stuff like that. We have rent-free zones so that more rent-free zones across the country to go against gentrification. And of course, free community college or city college and trade schools and universal health care. Now, the other part to this is that we also form committees on all of those, on every different aspect, whether it be from the finances. We have people that we have committees and people that work with, that know about the healthcare system. So every point we hit, we form these coalitions. And so how we go out and campaign, now we have to campaign for 4 straight years. We have to start campaigning immediately. We start putting our candidate out there and putting it on the map that here's our platform, here's what we stand for, and we target new voters. We hit the youth real hard because once you're 18, you're old enough to vote. Most of the country actually doesn't vote. So we reach out and back to the Native Americans. The reason why we reach out to them as well as other races is because there's no way in this political system or in the world we are going to be able to get progress without working with other people.
All right. Let me. I gotta stop you. You made your points, right? Did you make all your points?
For the most part, it's a couple.
All right. I gotta jump in. I gotta jump in. You laid out a class-based prescription to a problem that can only be race specific. Look, I understand, excuse me, I understand coalition building. That's one thing. Appeasing Native Americans is that this is, it sounds like Ice Cube's contract with Black America. It just seemed like you ran down bullet points from Ice Cube's contract with Black America where he adds Native Americans into. Some of the things that you said are things that we are pushing in a broader, pure reparations program. Some of the things. I don't see how you take over a party, and I just want to stick with the Native American thing for a minute. I don't see how you take over a party by appealing to Native Americans under the premise that we get maybe rent-free zones, e.g. reservations. That was the only thing I could think of when you said that, and trying to put the two things together. I don't even see how this works in general, one, but I don't see how this is a plan for taking over a political party. You know, I was waiting for you to say something along the lines of we go into every community, you know, we put together an aggressive grassroots movement. We go into the community centers and every quote unquote ghetto in the United States of, you know, I thought you was going to lay out something like that.
But that is what I was saying though. When I said that we take, like I said, I had some more to go. So when we talk about the Native Americans, it's not about appeasing. And I think that because of the way politics have dealt with us, is that when we say we want to reach out to other groups, it's not about appeasing other groups. It's about the fact that, number one, what makes sense to do this is, number one, because it's right. It's the right thing to do. That's the first thing. And we got to keep that in mind as a people that want
wait. What's the right thing to do?
The right thing to do is to keep in mind that these were originally native lands, and the fact that they did not get. Hold on, Lord Eber. This is what I'm saying. Look, hey, brother. This is what I'm saying. It's not about appeasing. That's not the thing.
No, that's appeasing, brother.
Right.
Hold on. I want you to go, but I gotta interject. You're basically saying because they were on this land, that the plan that we have for us should include them because they got done dirty. Basically, this is the same group of people that enslaved many of us. After the Emancipation Proclamation was signed, after the 13th Amendment was ratified, the United States government had to go and negotiate with some of these tribes to let our people go. They said, you can't keep them as slaves. It's illegal now. It's illegal. You got, like, I don't.
Lord, bro. Didn't black people just save the vote for Joe Biden? Now listen, understand that. Black people have been carrying this country for other people pretty much since the whole time we've been here. And what I'm saying is it's always been on our part. It's always been on our part, like they're in control. They making us do this and that. So at the end of the day, when we go out here and vote, we voting for our former slave masters, or some people say current slave masters. We voting for the people that used to enslave us. So what I'm saying is it's time to drop the attitude towards, oh, we trying to do this just to appease them and they did this to us. What I'm saying is we have to build bridges with other people. So if we're trying to win, we can get votes in order to win, because we are voting for our slave masters because they appease to us. And I'm saying,
wait, hold on. So let me ask you a question. Let me ask you a question. Can you show me the Native American plan that includes quote unquote Black Americans?
No, and I'm not here to justify or say that, hey, let's like them because they like us. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that when the British wanted to get the Chinese to trade with them, they took opium over there. So throughout the whole world, when people want to work with people, whether they enemies or not, they have to find a way to work with them. And for us, I'm saying we won't survive politically if we say, like, if you say we got to start our own party. The reason, there's been plenty of great independent parties that have came around, that are even around today, that a lot of us, like the Green Party, a lot of us agree with the Green Party, but they don't even have a chance of winning because of the voting system. So what I'm saying is we have to focus on being able to win first. And so focus on being able to win is to build relationships with other people. And like Native Americans was just one of the people that I mentioned, but we need to go to We need to go to the Latinos. We need to go talk to the Asians, because most of this country doesn't even vote. And my thing is,
so basically, look, I agree with coalition building, right? That I agree with that, but the issue at hand, because you're laying out a plan that you would like to see done, and I'm not gonna knock you for that. I can pick your plan apart. I can pick it apart. That they're doing it in the chat right now, right? But that's not necessarily going to take over the Democratic Party. I try to stay focused on a debate topic, and I wanted to hear what that plan was. Of course, I questioned some of the things within your plan as we try to get to that point, and I don't see how that appealing or appeasing or whatever you want to call it. You might not wait, hold on. You might not call it that, but I don't see how doing that takes over the Democrats.
The reason why it takes over the Democrats is because most of the voting public, even the people that vote for the Democrats, are tired of the Democrats because they're not progressive enough. Remember when they was running them pipelines, when all of the Native Americans and people was out there rallying for them because they was running the pipelines through their lands? So people that are progressive look at that kind of stuff, and they look at the fact like, hey, these people are for the people. So if we have a party that's progressive, and there's a clear-cut difference between us and what we're running on and what the Democrats are running on, this is what we can do. We can have the Democrats in a situation where if we start building up now, building up, and showing that, look, we have all of this support. We have a diverse party, coalition, whatever you want to call it. So when we say we want to run in 2024, we can run on the Democratic Party, because you can run against a president in the same party. You can do that.
All right, you know that, right? Brother Josh, I want to let my brother Josh respond to you real quick.
Hold on, let me say this right quick. I'm saying that we can have them, because if we get enough support, then we can say, if we don't get to run against you, then we're going to run independent to split the votes. So we got to force them to let us in. We have to force them to let us in, and we do that by building the numbers up. And we cannot, it is impossible for us to build the numbers by saying we just pro-black and all about us. We can be pro-black, but we also have to be inclusive of other people. If we think that there's any way we can do this where we just being 13% of the population, and that we're going to get votes by saying, forget about everybody else, don't appease the people, because that's what people do. This is politics. And if we're talking about women and not talking about how we feel.
All right. No, hold on, bro. Hold on, bro. Brother Josh.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I agree with you that we're going to need to build more support. And I didn't understand how Native Americans tied in, because they're such a small percentage of the electorate, and a lot of them like operate outside of the political sphere anyway. Like they don't even really engage too much. And I think one thing that's key to understand is that we are at the bottom. Like we at the bottom in terms of wealth. We at the bottom. Like, so I don't understand how my interests politically would allow, especially in terms of policy, would align with somebody who, I'm gonna talk about Washington D.C. where I'm at. Middle black family worth $3,500. Middle white family worth the middle black family worth $3,500 net worth. The middle white family worth $384,000. The middle Indian American family is worth $573,000. So you're talking like the different groups that we can coalesce with. Like if you're worth 100 or 150 times the wealth that I'm worth, your interest and my interest may be a huge difference in what we're interested in. So I don't know what we're bringing to the table, because what usually happens with these type of arrangements is we come with all the gasoline. We bring like we are the conduit. I should say we like the car that runs through the wall, right? the car, it runs through the wall and it gets wrecked, and then but the wall is knocked down. And everybody that was riding inside the car, they got airbags and all of that. They get to get out the car and go through the other side of the wall. While we just still left broken, from that fight. And then maybe somebody drags us through a wreck, or maybe we can get patched up, and we get a little something after all the goodies that got eaten up by everybody else. So I have to see, like.
But Josh, why is that the case though, Josh?
Well, I'm just asking. So what? I'm just looking for an example.
I'm about to let my cat debate you, Mumu.
No, listen. Let me.
I'm about to let the cat debate you right now, Mumu.
Don't white people vote for progressive like Democrats? And one reason they do is because of us, and they see what we going through in this country, and they sympathize with us. Is that not a fact?
I mean, you would have to first define.
Where have you seen that?
Yeah, define progressive Democrat.
Where have you seen that though?
What
I'm trying to figure out where.
Because if we being realistic, and I don't know if we, I hope we're not being disingenuous.
We don't do disingenuous on Be the Power, brother.
Right. So y'all don't believe that there are liberals out there, white liberals that vote and that care, that genuinely care about our issues.
Oh yeah,
concern to them.
No, definitely.
So what I'm saying is, when we talk about strategy and actually becoming a power and coming into our own, we can't do that without caring about other people. And if y'all say that we can, I really don't see how that's in any way plausible, because that has not worked for us, and it doesn't work for anybody else on the
brother.
planet.
Hold on, because I don't know if you heard what Josh was saying about economic positionality and sharing interests. If your group is making $400,000 and my group is only making or is worth $400,000 and ours is worth, let's just say $3,500, we might not share the same interests. So we got to make sure that we are taking care of us first, because most of those other people are already taken care of. I can pull up article after article, specifically during Obama's years, where Native Americans, different tribes, groups of tribes, got hundreds of millions of dollars. I could go all the way back to the 70s and pull up articles. Nobody's doing that for us. They're telling us take this welfare. Here, we got these social safety nets so that you don't necessarily or seem like you're going to hit the ground. But then we want you to go out there and work for these little bit of food stamps and these little SNAP benefits, right?
So, Lord Abba, you made my point, though. If Lord Abba was Obama, right? Like, let me say this right here.
Let me get in.
If we take something from Obama, is that he ran a great campaign, and he was, matter of fact, he's the first person to get out a real Asian vote. So if Lord Abba was Obama, he wasn't Lord Abba.
Bro, I'm not shaking my head because he didn't. I'm shaking my head because that's not relevant.
I'm saying it's
got out
relevant
the
to
Asian
women.
vote.
Relevant
the Asians,
what I'm saying.
Bro, hold on. The Asians just voted for Trump in 2016 at 29%. They voted for him in this election at what was it? Over 30%.
I think it was like 30, close to 36.
Bro, I don't know what you're talking about right now.
That's
bro.
with the Asian. That's with the Asian VP.
What I'm talking about is, in order to win.
Whoa, come on, let me get in there. Move, relax. Come on, man. You can't dominate.
My bad. Go ahead.
Come on. Listen, what you just explained that we could do, we can do that from our own party. That's the part that's kind of perplexing. All the things you talked about, except for the Native American thing, I don't know what the hell you talking about with that, because they never reached out to us to do nothing. They never shared none of the stuff they got. And then when they came up with DNA, they made sure they threw as much of us out of there as they possibly could.
Right.
So cut out the crap. We don't got to appease to that. All we got to do is be strong in our position and be thorough, and everybody will respect us. We ain't got to cow down. When it's time to treat people a certain way, we're going to treat them. We African Americans. We're African people. So we know how to treat people, but we got to focus on ourselves for one moment in time, bro. That's when we most successful as a people, when we focus on ourselves. No mother, no father is going to focus on people outside the household before they focus on their children in the house. So everything you talked about, bro, you know what I'm saying, we could do from our own party. Simple as that. Think about it, Moo.
Listen, I'm talking
Wait, no,
about
hold on,
winning, though.
hold on.
on.
We got our brother
Okay,
Ali.
party that
Hold on,
won't.
brother. Hold on, brother. We got our other BTP member in the building, brother Ali. You wanted to speak to anything?
Yeah, actually, I just want to say peace to everybody. Ankh actually, he actually addressed it kind of the way I was going to address it in terms of not having to kowtow to anybody like that. Our voting power is much greater, much more significant. We have much more political capital, social capital in this country than the Native Americans do, right? Because they're citizens, but they're like, they're outside of the citizenry, and from the perspective that Native Black Americans are. They're not the same as us. And so when it comes to reparations, like if you want to use specifically the issue of reparations, what you got to understand is the Japanese Americans were a very small group of people. They still are, compared to African Americans, a very small group of people. They didn't have to build a coalition with Black Americans to get their reparations. They didn't have to build coalitions with a whole bunch of different groups, even as a very small group of people. But they were able to do it by proving their case. By proving their case and creating their commission and bringing their commission and their findings in front of Congress, and Congress signed off on it. The president signed off on it because they were able to do that from the simple fact that they were able to prove their case. And we have the information to prove our case. We have the information to prove our case. Go ahead, Josh, what you want to say?
Yeah, I want to say, and they also pressured and worked relationships within Congress, so that's part of what we've been doing. But I want to say also, like, it has to be, we can build coalition and we can do all that, but it has to be some type of terms of solidarity, because you can't say, well, we need to form a coalition with Asians, but then they're the main ones that's trying to strip away affirmative action.
That's
and,
right.
That was the main ones that was going and making ads against Prop 16 in California.
Exactly.
Which was like, when we at the bottom, we got the worst things that we went through, and we still facing discrimination. We still feel like we're trying to come up, and then they're standing staunchly against, like, bare bones, like just like common sense policies that would make sense to stop discrimination. Go ahead.
Hold on, Josh. Brother Mumu, are you familiar with Prop 16 in California?
No, I don't know the details of it.
All right. Well, Prop 16 was basically a measure to establish affirmative action in California, reestablish it, if I'm not mistaken. A large proportion of the Asian community voted against affirmative action. Now, you got to remember what affirmative action was born out of. Affirmative action was born out of the Lyndon Baines Johnson administration and set-asides that was specific for America's descendants of slavery. Now, the very group that you're talking about, all of these different people, they eventually became the ones that benefited from affirmative action. Kamala Harris, for instance, her family changed their racial classification from white to Indian American after Federal Directive 15 came out in the 70s to benefit from affirmative action. Now Indian Americans are worth, what is it, 400K? And our people are worth 1,700 without any depreciating assets. And I mean, but coronavirus itself, I mean, could you imagine where we're at right now? Like, look at this headline. Inequality has been building for decades in the US, but experts say the pandemic ripped it open. This is a CNBC.
That is a fact.
So how am I going to try to advocate for anybody before I get my own house in order, brother? That doesn't make sense.
Can I answer that?
Go ahead, brother.
This is what I'm saying. this is where we are politically. This is where we are politically immature as far as dealing with relationships with other people, because the fact that most people think, or damn near everybody think, that I'm talking about just placating the people and saying give them this and we get nothing out of it is like we don't understand how political relationships work. And what I'm saying is this: we go to these communities and we say, listen, we have this and we have this. This is what we want, and this is what we want from y'all. How do we build that? How do we work on that together? So at this stage in the Black community, we don't have that. We don't have any type of organized or any type of significant communication with the rest of the world or voting public to say, hey, this is why we need y'all to support us, and what can we do to get y'all support? And that's what everybody does. So when we say, hold on, we say we don't need to appease people do it to us, but the only difference is we don't capitalize and we don't do it back to them. So everybody does this. The people in power do this. The people in power do it with everybody. So when we say we don't have to do it, just worry about us, it's immature.
No. The people in power offer social programs, and what Black people have been conditioned to do is believe that social programs are the things that are going to fix their condition and positionality in this country. We're operating on autopilot at this point. This is not even about people coming to the Black community and trying to bargain with us to get our support for their agenda. They don't do that. Latinos come. They don't need to. Latinos don't come to Black Americans to ask for their support in anything. The CBC gives it to them on the strength.
Right, and that's what I'm addressing. Because they don't come to us because we don't have any power, because we haven't won anything. And what I'm
that's not true.
That's not true.
That's not true. If you're looking at this 2020 election and the significance of the Black vote in just this election that's happening right now, you can't say Black Americans don't have power. You can't say that. You can't look at the numbers and say we don't have power. It just doesn't support that argument.
Right. And listen.
Hold on. Somebody else jump in. Hold on. This is the perfect time to take advantage of that, to start our own party, because now we're showing ourselves. This is when you take advantage of that. This is when you take all that energy gained and power gained and you use it for the betterment of your own group first. Come on, Mumu, you got to respect anything that you're talking about.
How do you get the votes, though? That's what I'm saying.
We're not yelling over each other. Calm down. This is a different platform. Come on, man. You know when wrong, you like the wrong. Come on, man. I'm simply saying, before you kill my train of thought, that anything that you're talking about doing, even if we want to appease people, we can do it from our own platform. That's why they got their own platform right here, bro. Like they got their own power right here. Oh, listen, from a micro level, right here, look at the power they got. It's a certain decorum. It's a certain way you got to act over here because it's their shit, bro. So understand that power that they got right here and understand the power that we got right now. We have to take advantage of our power. Stop trying to give it away, Mumu. Anything you're talking about. Listen, teach me how to fish. Don't give me no damn fish. I'm going to end with that.
Hold on, brother Mumu. Go ahead, Josh.
No, I wanted to actually hear Mumu rebuttal because
all right,
before he loses his train of thought.
All right, go ahead, Mumu.
What I'm saying is this: when we say we can start our own party and do our own thing, we have to get support from other races, because y'all keep making my point by saying, look at our power in the vote, and we are those others who people are getting the power from. So they're using our power for them to be in power. They're using what we have to put them in power. What I'm saying is we're not using others to put us in power. And in order to do that, we have to build relationships with these people. If we don't do that, because the Democrats built the relationship with us, the Republicans built the relationship with us, and we vote for them. What I'm saying is
okay. Because that's a point that you've made several times. What the part that I don't think that you're understanding is that we're not saying that you're not going to need other races to win an election. That's obvious. You're going to definitely need other races. But the way you started your plan off with your points was, in my opinion, appeasement. We have to bring Native Americans on. We have to reach out to these people. Like my brother Ali Bey said, these people don't reach out to us. That we don't share the same interests. Particularly what we're fighting for is reparations. And I believe, and again, this is my opinion, I can be wrong. I'll stand to be corrected. I'm not going to try to just keep arguing a faulty position if everybody keeps saying, yo, bro, I don't think your position is right and exact. I got to fall back and reevaluate. And I'm telling you, I don't think that your position is right and exact in your approach. Your intent may be good. I'm not going to question your intent. It sounds like you want to become more politically mature, more politically educated, etc. But you have to understand political education and political maturity in order to make the determination that someone else is not politically educated or is politically immature. You have to be there first.
Can I say this? I you know what I think, you know, what he's saying, it makes some sense in terms of we have to get our numbers up, you know. But what my point was when asked how do we gain power is we have to get our numbers up with our people first. Like ADOS, what this election showed was ADOS is influential in as far as the message resonating and the message reaching far, but it's not big enough to where, as far as having the number of people that we need, you know, to make it like actualized, you know. So you know, Democratic down ballot could have cost Biden the election. Just look at Georgia alone. Georgia, that race is coming down to, like, when I looked at it earlier, I think Trump was ahead by like 0.1%. Like it was less than 2,000 votes. Now, what if ADOS was, you know, had chapters everywhere, or you know, like so many people was on code with Democrat down ballot? That could have easily went for Biden. I mean, that could have easily went for you know, if those people didn't give their votes to Biden, Trump would have been won that easy. You know, and let's say a couple more states, something could have gone down. Some of that. It could have been
comment
easy.
Up, bro.
So now, if you have that leverage over the party, they know that when we say we're going to do something like that, that it can be a reality. Now they got to come to the table and say, what the hell do you need to make sure that don't happen? You know? And I don't think that it's going to be about, hey, you know, Latinos in Florida, and hey, you know, whoever, let's see how we can work together. I mean, obviously you want to work with other groups, but at the end of the day, it's going to be like, how we need to create the groundswell of our people first, right? We need to get our people first.
We got to get our
in huge numbers first,
page.
because that's how you show the power. That's how you actualize the power. It's not just the message, but it's also the numbers, the bodies, and the amount of people, you know, pushing that message along with you. Then, you know, other groups will be hitting you up to try to, and you will be coming from a stronger position of strength than, you know, we trying to beg and see, well, how can we work with y'all? Nah, we need to build our numbers up first. And we already 25% of the party electorate, you know.
Yes.
So, you know, we build our numbers up. Like I said, we could have, let's say if this was 2 years, if we've been doing this for 2 years longer, that would have directly affected some of these elections to the point. And let's say they knew, they wouldn't have been playing the same kind of games. They would have been, Ice Cube would have got a call from Trump, and them would have said, I mean, from Biden and them and Trump, that would have said, all right, we ain't gonna talk to you after the election. We can't afford that. Don Lemon would have, he would have had to check his words. He wouldn't have been able to come out his mouth crazy like that, you know? So my thing is, we need to solidify this thing with our people first, and that's a priority. All these other groups, that's good, but we got to get our power with our numbers with our people first, because it's not where it needs to be.
And you're right. It starts with, let me tell you something. I have family members, blood family members, that oppose my position to the
Ain't that
point,
something?
to the point where it's really like, is this are these people that like I grew up with? The energy behind it is crazy. It's really shocking. And so before we even think about going to a group of immigrants, right? Because you got to understand something. A lot of the people you're talking about building coalitions with are immigrants, like Johnny come latelys to this country. Most immigrants are anti-reparationists because in their minds, they would be the ones paying for any reparations program through their tax dollars, right? See, this is what they're thinking, even though that's not the way we're proposing it. If you look at the breakdowns from Dr. Darity, Kirsten Moreland, and others, that's not what's being proposed. But that's what they think because that's the way it's been presented for so many years. And so most of these people, most people that you're calling white in America are actually immigrants. Most of them don't even come from the oppression class, like, the foundational white Americans. Most of these people are Ellis Island immigrants and people that came later, right? After slavery and stuff. That's why you'll see when you start talking to them, if you ever really take the time and start talking to different white people about reparations, what you're going to find out is a lot of them are going to say, I'd never had anything to do with that. I wasn't even here.
That's one of the main rebuttals.
That's one of their main rebuttals. My family came after slavery. So many of the white group in this country are actually immigrants because they're not Anglos. They're other kinds of people from Europe that came later looking for a better life.
The largest percentage is German Americans.
German Americans.
And that's the largest quote unquote ethnic group in America. And guess what? Guess who's number 2? ADOS. And we
right.
we can argue even maybe that's even faulty. Maybe we number 1.
I personally believe, and I've said this before, that our particular tribe of people, the ones who descend from slavery, are probably the largest ethnic group in this country. People will say, well, the Latinos are the biggest. No, but you got to understand something. When you start breaking down and disaggregating who the Latinos are, what you're going to realize is there are multiple ethnic groups that create this thing called Latino. Cuban Americans, Dominican Americans, Mexican Americans, Puerto Rican Americans. These are different ethnic groups of people. They're not the same people, but they're all grouped together and called Latinos or Hispanics. When you start breaking the Latino group down, what you're going to find out is there's not one single Latino group that's bigger than the African American tribe.
Lord,
we are our own. We are our own. Sure, hold on. We are our own tribe. Go ahead, bro. Go ahead.
Quick question, man. So was the slave trade international and global?
Yeah.
Where was the largest slave population at?
Brazil, wasn't it?
I think probably like in Brazil or South America somewhere.
Is that like a Latin America type of thing?
I don't know. It's Brazil. I think Brazil was Portuguese, right? So I don't know if they're considered Latin American. I guess they are. I guess.
I would like to say this, that the majority of the world's populations and nations actually made money off of the slave trade. So if you think I'm worrying about a couple of people that come from those different lands paying some damn taxes, then y'all got to be out your mind.
Right. But think about
this. We started off. My bad. Go ahead.
Think about this. Even those people that come here willingly, right? You don't get to go to another country and decide which portion of the taxes you want to pay and what portion of it you don't. You know what I'm saying? That's not how that works, So even if reparations was going to come from taxes, that's not a decision that they can just.
Let me just didn't you start off the discussion was surrounded by, you said, do we need to start our own party or can we take over the Democratic Party? You said that you think we need to start our own party. So when I first started off telling you about my plan, I said this is a strategy for winning, not necessarily what we need to do in power. So with that said, let me ask you this, Lord Abel. If you were Obama, right? Now we all know that Obama had to form and reach out to other groups. We know that he did that. We know that he did that for support in order to win the presidency. So when we're talking about winning, and this discussion is about winning a national election, what I'm saying is, what are the things that we need to run on? I'm not saying that, hey, let's forget about ourselves and give everybody else this. But I'm saying if Lord Albert, if you were Obama and you ran on and you ran the election that he ran, and he reached out to other people and he got those supports from other groups and he won the election, you got into the White House, you wouldn't do what he did. You would go ahead and implement our agenda. What I'm saying is, we keep getting stuck on, well, why we gotta appease the other groups and this and that. I'm talking about winning a national election. I'm not talking about forget about us and let's not do nothing for us. I'm saying let's do what we gotta do to get in position to be able to do for us. And if we're saying that
let me jump in. The whole problem.
We're looking at them very strongly. A lot of votes came in late. I've already decisively won.
The whole problem, because like I said earlier, I could, if I wanted to, I could pick apart what you're saying, is that is not how you take over a political party. Even using a hypothetical that, let's just say I was Barack Obama and then I can run this and then you can implement your plan or starting a political party versus taking over a political party. That's still not how it's done, because at the end of the day, the people are going to vote for you based on your messaging, because that's what it all comes down to. It all comes down to your messaging. Now, you're saying if I was Obama and I came in as a Trojan horse to do, then even still, that's something different. That's still not a takeover of the party, because the party could then flip on you, right? And say, look, you said you were going to run on this and you're not doing it. And we as the party we're not going to support you. We're not going to support you either. So you definitely don't want to lose your party based on something that you didn't plan on running on from get-go, which if we're using a hypothetically can happen. That's something that can happen, that you could get in there and try to implement a bunch of things. And then the next thing you know, you're not only getting blockage from the Republicans in the Senate, you're also getting blockage from the Democrats in the House and in the Senate, which makes you a very unpopular president, which only gives you one term. What we're saying is in growing or starting, I should say, a new political, what I'm saying, excuse me, I don't want to purport to speak for all of my bros, and starting a new political party, and again, this is my opinion, is that you start to grow your own politicians. You have a congressional focus. The presidency is not going to deliver you what needs to be delivered. What's going to deliver you what needs to be delivered is having control over the Congress. You do a congressional push. Because if you get, let's just go with reparations. Let's give another hypothetical. You got the Senate is controlled by the Democrats. The House is controlled by the Democrats. And let's just say we have a Republican president. Let's just say that the House brings up the bill and they get it passed and the Senate approves it. It then has to hit the president's desk. The president then has to sign off on it. If the president says no, what's happening is now you're going against the will of the people, because the will of the people is spread out in the representatives who hold offices in the Congress, that being the House of Representatives and the Senate. Like that's a better scenario. That's how you take over a party, in my opinion. That's my opinion. But this is what we do here at BTP, bro. And
Can I say one thing?
Yeah, go ahead, brother Josh.
And I started out the conversation talking about gasoline. Like reparations and certain policies that are high magnitude policies that, just like landmark, like what most people think are unattainable. Um, that's like a long destination. And you need to have gasoline. You need to have enough gasoline. I think sometimes when we try to go in, like I was giving an example, and then part of it is I am agreeing with you, and I think maybe we're saying something similar. I think the issue that maybe that the divergence is I'm saying we need to focus on our people first. I think we may, even if we want to break off and form our own party, the majority of our people not gonna break off and do that. They're gonna stay as Democrats because they don't. This message is not penetrated enough. It's not penetrated enough. It's not education. The where we are is not penetrated enough. We're gonna have to do more to make sure this message penetrates enough, and then the people let us know. So when it's time when they're ready to make the move to a party. But I would say without having that type of penetration, without growing people who are reparationists, who's willing to do ADOS centered politics, essentially. It's like you trying to get to New York, but then you trying to put $5 in your gas tank, and you in daggone Santa Fe, New Mexico. Like we have to have our people, empowered with this and emboldened by this is the gasoline. And by trying to go to other, we should definitely make the relationship with other groups. The other groups is like the car, but we're the gasoline. Like I said, you need people in the car that you need the car, the wheels and all that stuff to get to where you got to get to. But without our people, like in taking over a party, you're gonna we already 25% of the electorate, but it's not, the message is not like we don't have enough of our people with the right message who's willing to withhold support if our agenda is not met. Those are the type of people that we need. That's what I'm talking about, and that's what I'm talking about, the gasoline. If we have let's say if we had like even 10% of our people, that's enough gasoline to get us where we need to get to. Anything less than that, we're gonna run out of gas. We're gonna be on the side of the road pushing. Other groups like, I think we're good. We y'all got us far enough, and we just, so that's my thing. We got to get our numbers.
Can I ask you two questions, brother?
Go ahead, bro.
One, you kept saying what we need to do, and then said if we do it, we won't win. So what I'm asking y'all is, give me y'all strategy on how to win with just us. How do we win a national election if it's just us?
When did I say that if we do it, we won't win?
Because you said that if we get our people together and we get together, but of course we're not gonna have the support of this and that, and we won't be able to get in the office like that. What I'm steadily hearing is we have power, but there's gonna be someone there to stop us. And I'm saying that
that's not what I was saying though. That's not what I was saying. What I was saying was, yeah, we should build coalitions with other groups. But I'm saying you don't have the power. You have to make it actualize. If you don't have the power to like where your people is moving, you're not gonna be able to get there. Those other groups, it's gonna run out of steam.
Right, and that's what I mean. So when you keep saying, what I'm asking you then is tell me how we win, because I'm trying to, that's what I'm trying to figure out. That's what I'm trying to get to. How do we win? Not necessarily like, because it's a different conversation when we just say in general, man, our people need to focus on us first. That's cool. And us focusing on winning is not saying that we not focus on what we need to do. And I think we keep getting that cross. I'm not saying that we go to these other groups because we're not thinking about ourselves. I'm saying because we think about ourselves, we know that we have to have other people to win. And y'all cannot give me any example of other people who don't do this that win.
Here's what one of the real rudimentary ways of moving in that process. You have to vote in large enough numbers, and you have to donate to people's campaigns. When you donate to people's campaigns, and when you vote in strong enough numbers, people understand that you or your group as a block are serious contenders and need to be paid attention to. We know we have numbers, particularly within the Democratic Party, just from this campaign. This campaign is showing us that we have numbers and we have strength. Now what we have to begin to do is to begin to strategically donate to people's campaigns. Look at what HR 40 is. Right now, we have problems with the language in HR 40 because it's too broad, and there are problems with the way the commissions are going to be set up and how they're going to be paid for. But at the end of the day, the very fact that HR 40 has, I think, over 150 co-sponsors at this point tells you that as a group, we have power to move the needle on our own. HR 40 getting the amount of co-sponsors that it has now wasn't due to coalition building, was due to the push and the work that the grassroots did in order to move that needle so that it was felt on the national level. It never had the amount of co-sponsors that it has now, ever. And that thing has been around for at least 30 years. Same thing with AB 3121 in California. They were able to do as a grassroots organization, and it had nothing to do with Native Americans, it had nothing to do with Latinos or Asians or any of that. What they were able to do is what they weren't even able to do yet in Congress, which was to get AB 3121 passed and signed by the governor, the Democratic governor of California. AB 31 is just a state level version of HR 40. Our people did that. ADOS LA, along with the brother Ice Cube, did that. It wasn't about coalition building, but they did it through the agency that they built up, and through the help of Ice Cube and the agency that he built up as an African American entertainer. Well, you started off mentioning the use of entertainers, and I agree with that. We mentioned that when we talked about Ice Cube's contract with Black America a few programs ago, when we did a dissection of his particular contract, and we talked about the proper usage of our entertainers in specific areas because of the agency they have as entertainers. They reach a broad group of people and they have influence. Even think about this. Sheila Jackson Lee, who is the main sponsor for HR 40, she's been ignoring the calls to meet about changing the language in that particular piece of legislation. She's been ignoring it. Ice Cube put her on blast on Twitter, and within a week's time, she's on Twitter telling him, let's sit down and let's have a meeting about it. So it can be done. We can do it. We can do certain things ourselves. We can get the co-sponsors that we need on these pieces of legislation, no different than the Japanese were able to do. They didn't ask us for help. They did it themselves. When the Latinos need things done with DACA, they don't ask African Americans, yo, we need y'all to help us and get behind us with this whole DACA thing. They're not asking us for that. Go ahead, make your point.
And like I'm gonna still go back to this, because the question was asked. Laura Abbott said, do we need to start our own party or take over the Democratic Party? And I'm assuming, I could be wrong, the point of doing either one of those is to actually win elections on not just a national level, but I'm saying a national level too, right? Is that not something we're aspiring for? Or are we just saying, let's try to get some bills in and let's just get some reparations? And that's, to me, that's still us putting ourselves in a position where we asking for something instead of building our own. And when we, like I said, I don't know why it keeps getting in translation that building our own, if we're working with other people, we saying we're not building our own. I'm saying
no, we have to work with other people. You're right. Listen, we're not disagreeing with that.
I agree with that point.
We have to work. We're not in this country by ourselves, right? We're not saying that. We have to work with other people. There are other people inside of the government. We won't be the only people in the government. Even if we were winning national elections, we still wouldn't be the only people there. So, but to the point that I'm trying to make is that a lot of the things that we need done, we can do it if we can get enough of our people to behind it and support it and become the type of advocates that they're supposed to be to help move the needle. Right now, you have a certain number of our people who are advocating and being very loud and vocal and very strong in their positions and reaching out to representatives on the state, local level, federal level to have this conversation moved into the national spotlight the way that it was. But that's not enough. We need, what Josh is trying to say is we need more of our people. And when I mentioned I had family members who are very anti my political ideologies, that's very real, you know, and that's not just me. That is representative of so many of us. There's a lot of ADOS people who try to have conversations with their families about where we are as a group, what needs to be done as a group in order to move forward. And the type of pushback that we get is insane from our own people, our own family members, let alone a whole other ethnic group of people who have their own agendas, who have their own ideas and things that they hold dear to them. Their whole, like, so what's important to Latinos is not necessarily important to us. And then we break that down. What's important to the Cubans is not necessarily the same thing that's important to Puerto Ricans. Even they are split in their agendas and what it is that they prioritize. So we have to, in other words, as a tribe of people, and I keep pushing this, we have to become more tribal, right? And as a tribal people, we have to understand that we got to get a significant portion of our tribe to know that we have a unique plight and a unique justice claim in this country, and that we need our people to become significant advocates on behalf of yourselves and your justice claim, period. Right. Then once we do that and we get stronger, people are going to want to ride that wave, because everybody always rides our wave anyway. But go ahead and make your point.
All right, bet. I feel everything you're saying. And to add to that, this is what I'm saying. If I've been listening to conservative radio since 2002, and a lot of us have really not been listening to conservatives, especially that long. Whenever I'm in the oil and gas, so I drive from Houston to Montana, all over this country. I've been driving all over this country for years, listening to conservatives. So what conservatives were saying was they needed a candidate. They wasn't saying his name because Trump wasn't even an option at the time. They were saying they needed a candidate like Trump in order to win big, because underneath like the Republicans, the corporate or what they call, like, I forgot the word they use, but like the regular Republicans, underneath that was like an underbelly, like something brewing with the people.
Tea party.
You know what I mean? Like, I'm talking about like a certain attitude, though, that what Trump brought to the game, that's what they people was already crying out for. But your typical Republicans wasn't on TV saying it. And so what I'm saying is this: Trump was able to get in there and win because he came in just speaking his connectivity to the people. And you have enough white people and a few other people that he didn't even really have to intentionally appeal to other people, because he had enough white people that felt how he felt and that was feeling his message to vote for him. And on top of that, because we are conditioned the way we are, and this is white people have most of the power in this country. A lot of other people in other groups tend to just sway with them strictly because they just have the power. So he was in a peculiar situation as far as being able to touch, being able to be a symbol and an ideology for his people that felt like they weren't being heard by the mainstream Republicans, even though these Republicans on the radio, your Sean Hannity's, your Michael Savage's, your George North, like all these people, they had been saying this stuff. So what I'm saying is, for us, if we got a Lord Abba, right, that's for ADOS, that's for reparations. And we already know, black people, we already know that out the gate. Lord Abba is for us. He for reparations. He for our people. He got all of us. He becomes this personality. Like we get him out here. We do what we have to do. We give money to Lord Abba to go from city to city, from state to state. So let people know who he is and what he about. And in 4 years, I'm going to be running. So we got our people, right? So the next thing we have to do after that, because we don't have the numbers, is we have to go to these other people and say, hey, listen, can we count on this community to vote for us? Because we are gonna run. The reason why I say I think we should run Democrat is because the independent thing has been done.
All right, look, let me jump in. Let me jump in, bro. I mean, I just gave my opinion. I gave my opinion, but I think that.
And he's talking about presidential elections.
Yeah, I was just about
but go
to
ahead.
say that.
I'm sorry, brother. Go ahead. Go ahead. My bad.
That was just what I was gonna hit on. Your focus is solely on the general election. What we're doing over here at Be the Power is a congressional push. The presidency is secondary over here. What we teach on and educate on and build on is about how to get enough people into Congress to make noise. So our platform, right, and we agree that it's going to take other people. And I've said this, you can be a white reparationist, you could be an Asian reparationist, you could be a Latino, so long as you see the numbers and know that the only way to close the racial wealth gap is by implementing a pure reparations program, and then you going out and advocating for that, no matter what your ethnicity is, then you are a reparationist. You are for what we're for. I think that your focus is on the what I call the pageantry of the general election. And we see that pageantry being played out right now via the media, you know, the pomp that it brings, the controversy, the round the hour news coverage. Everybody, I mean, I got the election results up on the screen right now, waiting for Georgia to flip blue, because that's going to be a shock to me. And it seemed like it's on its way to flipping blue. I'm kind of curious to see if it does. Like, my eyes is glued on this particular screen, but that's not our focus. And so, and I have to be careful myself, because my response may be rooted in my worldview, or the worldview that we have here at Be the Power. So I think that, you know, we have somebody said it in the chat. You should go back and listen to some of our old programs, because we give a breakdown about a congressional focus, because that is where the power is at the end of the day. The power is not just in the executive office. We so often forget that there are three co-equal branches of government. But when it comes to the type of things that we need done for us as a people, that is not necessarily the president's job. While he may be able to put forward some things, or have the Congress put forward some things that will benefit us, and then he'll sign off on it, ultimately, it is up to the legislators to put that thing together. And I think that's kind of where the disconnect is at within our arguments. Of course, it branched off from being, you know, taking over the Democratic Party or forming a new party, to a bunch of talking points in between, which happens in some debates. You know, so I definitely think that there's a disconnect there, brother. I believe that you should I suggest you look more into the power of the Congress as opposed to the power of the presidency. You know, we're used to seeing things from a autocratic level, and man naturally thinks that way. I have a whole book breaking that down. So
Congress has the power of the purse.
Yeah,
Congress has the power of veto
and
override.
It is the legislative body in America.
It's where the laws come from. They have the power to veto override, because they represent the will of the people. You know, they've used the veto override previously in the past. It doesn't happen a lot, but they've used it. You know, particularly during the Reconstruction period, they used it. You know, and so that's why it's so important, because a lot of like he's saying, a lot of what we need has got to come out of the Congress, because in order to put together a really comprehensive reparations program, that's going to take the minds of economists and the legal scholars and everything else to really put something that heavy together, to really close the racial wealth gap and put in place all of the wealth building tools that our group is going to need. That's not something the president is going to be able to do. You need the legal minds of Congress. You need the economic minds in Congress. That, that's what you're going to need to make that kind of thing happen. So that's why they're really charged with putting together all of the details of any kind of social program, whether it's the Social Security Act, whether it is the CARES Act, right? The CARES Act that just came for the relief of the pandemic, that was put together by Congress. And even with that, what they did was they took another bill that was already existing and they took that and reshaped it into what is, today the CARES Act. So that kind of stuff, when it's really comprehensive like that, it has to come from Congress. It has to come from Congress. They're the ones who are charged with laying out that kind of work. The president, there's some things he can do through executive power, but he's limited. He's definitely limited. And so that's really not our push. But that's what I was getting from when you were saying running national campaigns and running around the country. And that's what a president and a vice president does. Somebody who's representing a specific district and specific constituencies within a state, they don't have to run around all over the country. Or what they got to do is deal with their constituency, the ones who they're trying to push their program, their platforms to get their to get their support and their votes within their state or wherever.
Yeah, and that's so. I mean, maybe what he was saying, in addition to the president, also matters to a certain extent among like a Senate race. A Senate race, you might have to win the Senate race like that. You may have to, depending on what state it is, you may have to definitely have a larger, broader voter base than just like if you run in a House of Representatives race, where you look at your district and your district is like a Baltimore or something, or Philly, or it's just all black folks, or somewhere in New Orleans or something, where you don't you can say, I'm for reparations, I'm for a black agenda, I'm gonna take that to Washington. Like, oh yeah, we're putting you in. But if you got to say that and you represent the whole state of Louisiana, the whole state of Philadelphia, it's a little bit different. So I understand what he's saying, but I just think that we have to, like when we talk about winning national elections, obviously we're not there yet. I think that's the point maybe that I'm trying to make, that maybe the brother Moo Moo is not getting. I don't think we're there yet, man. I think we still have a long way to go as far as getting the masses, and it could happen fast. It could happen fast. Depends on how much fast we work. Depends on how we get this thing organized. But we still have to get like all of our people. We got to get this message synthesized to where all our people, like, you supposed to, when even your kids know that like we all supposed to be demanding reparations. So a whole lot of people don't even know reparations is. They don't even know anything about there is a racial wealth gap. They don't understand why the history behind our issues. They don't understand that we're owed a debt by the government. They don't understand this injustice. That needs to be widely known, and it needs to be a collective demand, and not just a few what they can call ADOS, or offshore, obscure group or whatever. No, that has to permeate, and until it permeates, then I feel like we don't have what we need is in terms of having people and having the wind behind their back. You won't even have to talk about be begging for donations. People already understand that you have to donate to this person. Like, that's just part of what you have to do, because we have to boost this person up. And then other people will come to the table. They'll come when they see your power. They'll come to the table. They'll be hitting us up to try to be like, hey, how can we work with you to get on your train to move forward. But yeah, I mean, we can't even get it. We got to convince our own people to advocate for this thing.
Look, we coming up on 3
yeah,
hours,
it's
fam.
getting
We're
late.
gonna get to
Definitely
closing this
getting late.
thing out. I'm tired of sitting
Yeah, I'm
here.
out, bro. I'm a reparationist and I'm out.
All right, bro.
Peace.
Brother
Peace,
Mumu,
Josh.
I'm gonna let you get you a little last word in before we close it out, brother.
Yeah. I appreciate you, brother. And I will be supporting your show continually, not just with views, but I'm gonna drop something in your cash app too, man.
Honest.
I respect the platform, and even when we disagree, we brothers and soldiers in this thing.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, at the end of the day, without getting back into all of that, I just believe that our creativity and imagination and will, for the most part, has been stifled in this country, and I think along the way we kind of forgot that we can do it all. We can go hard. We can go big. And that's where my mind state is at with us. And I agree with what y'all was saying. And it is a process and there's steps to it. So I'm not saying that y'all are on some defeaters. I'm not saying you saying that we can't do this and that. That's
No. And look, let me say real quick. Like I said, that's just my opinion. You see my bros, they like, that's my opinion. I'm one of them people that stand to be corrected all the time. And I try to be careful when I preface my words, or I try to preface my words carefully when I'm speaking, so that a person would know what my opinion is, because opinions will move you to be swayed in any different way, right? Because it's not necessarily something that you're standing on insofar as a solid ground thing. I do believe that we need our own political party. I believe that is more feasible and more doable than taking over the Democratic Party. That's just my belief. I stand to be corrected.
Are you any type of fighter? Like, have you ever done any type of martial arts or boxing or something like that?
Well, I've had a whole lot of street fighting.
A
whole lot of them.
I used to be a pro
organized. No.
Well, yeah, I used to be a pro fighter, man, and artist. And one of the things that I think that we should realize right now, and that it relates back to fighting, is sometimes you go with like the Floyd Mayweather style. Sometimes you want to, play a lot of defense, get some shots in, enough shots to win the rounds and win like that. And I think that's the strategy we've been using, but it hasn't been working for us. We need to get aggressive. We need to be Mike Tyson right now. And I just feel like we got that opportunity because Donald Trump really kind of gave us the blueprint on that.
We need to be Tank right now.
Yeah, straight up. We need to be Tank. Boy, that was a hell of an uppercut.
we need to throw some uppercuts just like that, bro.
Yeah, and that's all I'm gonna get off, man. But that's all I'm saying. Like right now, I just see that as an opportunity. Like we can get the Democratic Party. Like we can either take them down or make them do what we want them to do. And if we start working right now to do that, we can do that. That's all I'm saying.
Definitely. All right, definitely, brother. I'm glad you came on and shared your side and shared your opinions. And hopefully, we can keep this thing moving as we try to build up more and more reparationists. Shout out to Brother Aunt, the OG, for coming on. For those that don't know, Brother Aunt, we've known each other for a long time. Speaking about debates, that's why I started laughing. I don't know if y'all peeped it, but he was like, this is a different platform. We don't yell over each other over here. That's all me and this dude Unc used to do back in the days, was scream over each other all the time. But hey, I'm gonna leave y'all with the show's motto. But first, the races are tightening up in Georgia. It looks like Nevada is still kind of stuck where it's at. North Carolina, I expect Biden to be announced as the winner tomorrow. I don't necessarily think we got into the topic tonight, but it's all good. We had a good conversation, good little debate popped off. So that's always good, I think, for everybody that's listening in, to hear different sides of equations, particularly as we try to figure this thing out politically. With that, I'll leave y'all with our platform's motto, and that is don't just fight the power, become the power, and then and only then will you have the power to make a change. And with that,